After 8 weeks of hard-fought racing, wins across the board and all sorts of drama along the way, It's finally here. It is race night at Mount Panorama, and the MC Motorsport MCV8 series is ready to take on the mountain in all its glory. The grid is set after a thrilling qualifying and heart-stopping top 10 shootout last night, and now it's all about endurance, strategy and raw pace around the most iconic stretch of tarmac in Australia. Across 6.2 kilometres of twisting mountain roads and over 400 kilometres here tonight, every driver in the field will be tested. From the tight technical climb through the S's to the flat-out blast down Conrod Straight, where slipstreams and bravery will make all the difference. With their cars dialed in, the drivers ready to battle, it is time for the ultimate test and time for us to see who will conquer the mountain and etch their name into MC Motorsport history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this final round of the MCV8 series. Season 1 comes to its thrilling conclusion here with the Bathurst 400 tonight, brought to you as always by Simple Racing Broadcasts. My name is Jared Cole. It is an absolute pleasure to be here tonight, and I am joined in the booth right now by Dean Biggles-Hopton, my esteemed co-commentator. Dean, welcome back to the booth, mate. It is going to be an absolute cracker tonight, isn't it?
What a better track, of course, the mountain, the mighty mountain to conquer for the finale here. So not only the drivers have to try to beat everybody else here to win and wrap up their championship in both the gold and silver classes, they've got to first beat the mountain. Welcome, everybody.
Absolutely, they do. And I tell you what, with double points on offer, being an endurance round, of course, there is so much to play for tonight, and indeed, so much opportunity for these drivers to actually take this on and come out ahead. We'll take a look at the championship standings in just a moment, but it is looking like it's going to be an absolute nail-biter of a finish. The track conditions tonight, 26 degrees, so reasonably mild, but of course the Australian sun has been beating down on this track all day today. Track temperature of 47 degrees means these drivers are going to have to think very, very carefully about their pit stop strategy for this evening. And of course, across 400 kilometres, a couple of refuels to think about as well. There's going to be safety cars, there's going to be drama, I have no doubt. And Biggles, I'm here for it, mate. I don't know about you, but I have been looking forward to this all season.
If you get a block up there in the mountain, that's it. You know, there's not many places to go. It's twisty, it's tiny, and Bathurst takes absolutely no prisoners whatsoever. So you make one mistake there, it's going to cost you some time. However, do have time on your side in an endurance race. So, 4 hours of grueling racing. It's tough, my friend. Absolutely tough, unless we're going on 65 laps scenario. But as you know, it's Bathurst. It's 65 laps exactly as listed, 400 kilometers. Yeah, it's going to be tough, mate, and it's what it's all about. It's also going to be wrapping up a championship as well, too, in both of the classes. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled on that because they're pretty close. We're going to go over that very soon. And on top of it too, we're going to have a little bonus. So it's going to be whether it's going to be a Chevy or a Mustang as well too.
Well, absolutely. There's always bragging rights on manufacturer. Interestingly enough, my fellow commentator Aidan Cale and I last night during the top 10 shootout, we were having a bit of a chat. I believe, and I could be wrong, but we believe that this may actually be the very first V8 Gen 3 Supercars league event to actually wrap up its season. And so tonight when we crown our winners, I believe we may actually be crowning the very first iRacing Gen 3 Supercar League champions in the Gen 3 Supercar, which is kind of cool. It's a nice little special edition. So we'll keep that in mind. Let's take a look at the point standings because this is where it really gets interesting tonight. The gold split separated by really nothing at all. David Coleman out in front on 1,145 points remains the man to beat ahead of Ty Delaney on 1,124. 21 points, 22 points Ty Delaney needs to take this championship away from David Coleman, so keep an eye on that battle tonight. Jamie Dyke a little further back on 1,113 points. So at this stage, barring anything catastrophic, you'd have to think that the championship podium will be a fishy 1, 2, 3. The question really now remains what order that they will be in at the end of 400 kilometres. Aaron Gilbert and Daniel Poulton are just behind as well, probably battling out for a few minor places, and of course the rest of the field behind them. But these fishy guys have been absolutely dominant all season, and it's really going to be a question tonight of who brings it home.
Yeah, the gloves are off between. The gloves should absolutely be off between the Fishy Motorsports because help out your mates, your teammates along all season long. But when it push comes to shove, and you want to lift that championship trophy, one of them is certainly in the hot seat to get that done. I mean, it's still a long shot, isn't it, from Aaron Gilbert there to perhaps 91 points behind the winner, but he would need a DNF from all those 3 drivers at least, I think.
That's a big ask.
We'll see how it pans out too. And what happens at a tiebreaker? If they happen to get tied points, I think you're going to roll it back to see who's got the most amount of race wins.
Yeah, I don't envy the league organisers if it does come down to that. Interestingly enough, David Coleman letting us in on a bit of the goss last night during the top 10 shootout. The Fishy Motorsports drivers usually definitely working as a team in terms of their setups. For Bathurst this week, they are all keeping their setups under wraps from each other as well. So no love lost this evening. They are all here to win, and it will be down to the best driver and the best setup this evening here at Bathurst. Let's take a look at the silver split because things get even closer here. Hayden Cupid had an absolutely stellar run in the top 10 shootout and will be starting from further up the grid, and he's going to need every chance he can get to stay ahead of Scott Stevens because only 10 points separate them after 7 rounds of MCV8s. And really, if Scott Stevens can get ahead here somewhere, he's in with a real shot of snatching this away at the death from Hayden. Not much in it at all. Jake Rebellion as well, not too much further behind, 1,058. Ryan Palmer, 1,032. Look, with double points on offer and an endurance race like this, you've got to think that any of those top 4 are probably in the mix here. Aiden in the chat just letting us know that he's done some numbers and it looks like quite a few drivers in contention. Look, they're all within reach. It's really going to come down to who manages to finish the race tonight as to what these point standings might entail. I'm going to be trying to do the math as we go along this evening, but we've got to keep our eye on the racing as well.
Just to let everybody know, so we can obviously keep a note, and please let us know in the chat too. We can keep an idea on the championship point standings as we go deeper into this one. How many points then will be that double points there for a race win in the class?
Well, you're talking 200 points each. 200,
yeah.
200 points. So there's a lot of points on offer, but of course it drops by about 6 points per position for the top 10 or 20. I'm going to bring those points up somewhere here so I can reference them as we go tonight. But yeah, we're gonna have to keep a very, very close eye on these battles this evening, I think. So look, they've got it all to play for. We are moments away now, less than 5 minutes away from the start of this evening's race. And it's going to be really, really tight.
You even go back as far as Mitch Curry, the boss man himself,
you could,
P6
in theory.
It's
not impossible.
Yeah, in the silver split, if all those drivers ahead of them barely get any points would come into each other, hey, it could be a big pileup, could be big accidents. We could see teammates taking each other out as well too, especially if those Fishy Motorsports guys going for it up the road. Of course, in the silver split, we'll be mixing with the gold split. If they get a tango, well, drivers like Mitch Curry there, Aiden Grinch there, Ryan Palmer and all that can be zooming on by going, thank you very much, gentlemen, I'll take this and maybe lift the trophy. And we didn't expect Sebastian Vettel to win the championship and the 4 drivers that were battling for that one many years ago, Mark Webber there and Kimi Räikkönen and Fernando Alonso and Seb took it.
Plenty can happen. So we'll take a look there. So that's the silver split as it stands right now. Ryan Palmer, I mean, there are so many options here as to how this could play out. I'm just taking note at the moment of some of these point scores so we can try and figure them out as we go this evening. And then, of course, one more look at the gold split before we do go down to the grid. So David Coleman, again, holds a 21-point lead over Ty Delaney, who in turn holds just an 11-point lead over Jamie Dyke. There is nothing in this tonight. And to have it come down to such a close season finale is pretty much every league organiser's dream, really, isn't it, Biggles?
And Luke Speck, that says Curry 15 points mathematically out of winning silver split. Real, 200. That's right, because it's just down a little bit.
But I tell you what, it's close. If he can get a silver, that'd be pretty. He could get
a silver and the silver. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see those Fishy Motorsport drivers in the gold split. They're all going to know where they are. They're going to probably be communicating to each other. But these other drivers in the other teams, are they going to be communicating? How are they going to be communicating? Are other teams going to work together and say, look, mathematically I can't win the championship, but let me help you win the championship because I don't want MC Motorsports to win the championship. Things like that.
God,
You never
brutal,
know,
wouldn't
mate.
it? That'd be brutal.
You know, your frenemies become friends when push comes to shove.
Yeah. Anything's possible. Absolutely.
You got to help your teammates out. Put it that way, somewhere along the line, and however you can do it can certainly come into play here this evening.
Look, we'll keep an eye on that as we go this evening. Of course, we are just about there, just 30 seconds away from these drivers starting to grid for tonight's Bathurst 400. Let us know in the chat what you think the likely outcome is here this evening. Who do you see taking out the championship in the gold and silver split? And we should almost be taking a look at how many safety cars we're expecting tonight, because Bathurst is notoriously difficult at the best of times. When you've got so many drivers vying for a result here, it's going to be a pretty epic battle, I suspect.
Well, no, we shall thank, of course, behind the scenes there, the work that goes in race control, and that's going to be also even more pressure on race control when you come to a final race like this, because they got to look at every decision like it's the last decision, which it is for drivers' championships or crucial positions for the drivers in the championship. So that's bringing our safety car. Well, that's just going to be inevitable because of the fact of a track being blocked, and of course Bathurst is very easy to be blocked, being like a semi-street circuit really when you go up the mountain, and we'll see from there. But first of all, we have to see where the drivers are going to be gridding up.
Absolutely, we do, and we'll wait for them to just jump on. Here we go. Our grid this evening after the top 10 shootout looks like this. Daniel Poulton out in front ahead of Ty Delaney. So they'll be on row 1. Hayden Cupid in third next to Jamie Dyke. Then Thomas Wilson and Reese Wakefield ahead of Damon McDonald and David Coleman. Ryan Smith and Jackson Austin rounding out the top 10 from last night's shootout. Then Seth Stevens and Nicholas Garriosh just behind them. We go further down the order. Mitch Curry and Luke Newing there. I'll have to get his name corrected. Ahead of Jake Robillard and Robbie Bradbury. Then Aaron Gilbert and Josh Harris line up ahead of Adrian Gresh and Ryan Palmer. Henry King and Ronald Long in 21st and 22nd respectively, with Greg Patrick and Rory Collins behind them. Then Daniel Harrod and Scott Stevens. Scott Stevens, a lot of work to do there this evening. Dylan Thomas and Darren Lofton ahead of Dane Liciardo and Nathan Bowman. And Martin Lipsky and Josh Marsh rounding out the list for this evening. Let's go down to the track and get ready to go here this evening, because we are just about underway. In fact, we've already gotten underway. No time wasted on the grid. And we are off for the Bathurst 400. I can't believe how quickly the
no
cars have gotten gritted up.
And when it comes to Bathurst, the drivers know. Oh, we got a spit already in turn 1, but here they go, climbing up the mountain for the first time, and they're going to be plenty of times they're going to be doing this, 65 of them later on. And I have to give it to Hayden Gilbert too. What a fantastic qualifying performance he did. But look at the challenge in the turn 1. And that's easy. That's tied. Getting past Danny P. It was crucial. Danny P, what a fantastic qualifying performance for him as well too. Needs to maximise points there. Jamie Dyke and Thomas Wilson, P3, P4.
As we come through the cutting for the very first time, this will be the question if everyone can make it through here in one piece. Always a dangerous corner. These guys, of course, thinking about the 400 Ks ahead. They know they have to take it easy. They're on cold tyres. They've got a long way to go here yet this evening. And we come up over Skyline for the very first time. Everyone's settling in. And apart from Ryan Palmer's little moment earlier on, you've got to say that we're looking pretty clean for the start of this 400 Ks of Bathurst.
Yeah, with Ryan Palmer going around, he's currently at the moment 4th in the championship. He's got to put his head down at the moment and go, I've got time on my side. Let's get that out of my system, try alternative strategies, things like that. But you're certainly not over. Now, if it's a short sprint race, you might be sitting there thinking, this could my chances be over. But once again, Sebastian Vettel spun in Brazil and came back and clinched the championship, so anything's possible. He spun on the first lap, first corner too. Sorry.
It's a very, very long way, 400 Ks around any track, but Bathurst in particular, there's so much potential for things to go wrong. Look at that very interesting line from the Sideways Esports drivers there in Hayden Cupid, Thomas Wilson and Dane McDonald. All over the track, those three cars just taking up all of the space.
Yeah, Hayden and Thomas Wilson battling it side by side. Look at the pack behind him as well too, was Jamie Dyke, Danny P, and they're all the way up the road here. So this is absolutely fantastic. What are we really seeing? Such a gap already. 3-second gap, actually, from the top three back down to this huge battle. 3 wide, my friend, in Hell's Corner. Oh, close your eyes, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Someone very much... I don't even know what to say. They got through.
They've survived.
Wow.
They've survived. I have no idea how, but they've survived. And we are off and racing here. Let's keep an eye on this. And of course, out in front, Delaney, Daniel Portman, and Jamie Dyke all getting away well. And you can see there, David Coleman right alongside Dane McDonald on the way up Mountain Straight. So he's dropped down a little further than perhaps he'd like to be off the start. But you know what? Early days. We're only on lap 2 here. We've got 65 laps total tonight. But look at that gap starting to open up. 4 seconds now. And Thomas Wilson, you've got to wonder what strategy he's on because he seems to be, and I don't want to push this unnecessarily, but he seems to be slowing down this pack at the moment. And
he is.
To open up.
But to see on the straightaways how much top end speed he's got, because obviously that's the thing. He knows that 2/3 of this track there is basically no overtaking, so you're safe there. At the end of the day, every driver knows that their only worst enemy in this track, of course, is the track itself. You first have to conquer the mountain before you worry about the other cars on the track, because it's easy peasy to be up the road and all by yourself and then make a simple little mistake. You're in the fence and a lot of time together.
Absolutely. Even now, though, you're seeing Dane McDonald start to have a bit of a gap open up there ahead of him as well. So maybe it's not Wilson. I don't know, but it's something for us to watch very, very carefully. Hayden Cooper right in the mix, though. The silver driver taking it to these gold class drivers. You can see that silver batter is right there, and he's in amongst them all. But a long way to go here this evening before we decide on any winners. Get yourselves settled in, get your drink of choice. We've got 63 more laps of Bathurst to do here, folks.
Read some of the chat out there, of course. Get out there, a long way to go, of course. 65 laps. Fire up the Antic boys.
Taking a look at the rear bar there of David Coleman. Daniel Portman running at 209 there, so he's certainly looking to stay very, very tight on the rear bumper of Ty Delaney. We'll keep an eye on that. But just here, Jackson Austin losing his place to Ryan Smith. And up Mountain Straight they go. Nicholas Garish is going to try and push past as well. And then, of course, you've got Seth Stevens in the Team 15 entry, that yellow Camaro. Very, very bright, very easy to see here. As we make our way up Mountain Straight once again. That gap now out to 5.5 seconds for Wilson up to Jamie Dyke. So those front three.
Cam you got there. I know you got that trying to keep up the speeds of the Supercars.
You and I will chat about that, I'm sure, my friend. Let's take a look in with the leaders right now. This is Ty Delaney, Daniel Poulton, and Jamie Dyke. They're just a little bit further up the track, but these three are absolutely going for it this evening as they start to put a bit of distance in. And you've got to ask what the strategy is here. Are they just going to push hard and not worry too much about the tyre wear and fuel over this distance and just try and maximise the gaps? Because
the only problem with this
here,
one is that Danny P, because he just got beaten off the start there by Ty, he's in the middle of that Fishy Motorsports sandwich at the moment. So he's he's got they can control his race a little bit here from both ends. So Danny's just got to push on here and maybe get the OT. Did set the fastest lap on the last lap of first man in the 209s. Now that they've got up the speed, we'll see if they can continue in those 209s.
Yeah, it's quick. I mean, that is a very, very quick start to this race to be pushing out those sort of times so early on here. The thing is, right, you're talking about this sort of distance. I'm not sure there's actually a huge amount of benefit to opening this gap up because the first safety car is going to eat all of this away. And you're going to have burnt through so much fuel and so much of your tyres. Well, yeah, if there's a safety car... You're so confident
we're going to get one, aren't you, mate? Are you going to go there and throw a banana around the track or something like that?
It's Bathurst and it's 400 Ks of Bathurst. You've got to expect it, don't you?
Not so soon, Bot. Not so soon. Because drivers are fresh. They're they're all ready to go. They did a little bit of practice, so they it's for them. It's okay. The endurance part will set in a little bit later. That's where it creeps in when you get a little tired and exhausted. You've been going around here for 20, 30 laps, and then those little mistakes start creeping in.
Do you see them all starting to settle in a bit here? 2 minutes 10, the pace on that lap, as we see this lead pack starting to just take the foot off the throttle ever so slightly and settle into their rhythm. They've got a bit of a gap here. They can take a bit of a breather. Not so much, though, for David Coleman as he looks to regain the position that Reece Wakefield has stolen away from him, all over the back end of Reese's Antic Motorsports entry, and Coleman will be looking to move up through the field, I'm sure. Aaron Gilbert now also putting some pressure on Luke Newing ahead of him. So plenty of moves happening right throughout this pack. We'll try and keep an eye on all of them, but it is, as always, a very hotly contested field, and there is a lot going on right throughout. Further back, a few changes. Adrian Bresch all the way back with Darren Lofton is finding himself a bit off the line, and that's certainly costing him. Josh Marsh just tacking in the back there as well. But up front, it's out to almost 6.5 seconds now, Biggles.
Yeah, they're applying low 10s, 210s, the rest of the field, and that pack behind are the 11s. So that's a low 11s, so they're about a second a lap quicker at the moment. Danny P still holding on to Ty in the lead here at the moment. Jamie Dyke holding on to him, so not too much of a change between these drivers. Once you start getting into that rhythm and into that groove, it becomes a little bit more difficult to overtake. I've always say that the classic overtaking example here in Bathurst is get to about 2/10 out of the exit of Forest elbow, and then you get them down Conrod Straight. You should be able to get them into the chase. That's a general rule of thumb. And it's all about getting that perfect exit out of the elbow.
What's interesting here is seeing Reese Wakefield starting to allow a little bit of a gap open up to the 3 Sideways Esport entries ahead of him. Whether that's because he's watching his mirrors so closely with David Coleman all over him, as we see Coleman coming down the main straight, our spider cam there, picking up beautifully just how close he's getting to the rear end of Reese Wakefield. Have a look at that through Hell Corner. Coleman is applying the pressure regardless of the fact that we've still got so much distance ahead of us. This is the thing you've got to watch, right? That little bit of red mist where you think, I can probably have him here. Is that actually going to benefit your race overall, though?
That'll be last to let breakers, mate. You're going to be sending him into the pedigree fence at that point when you're shopping for some pet food. But he's just going to be... The difficult part of here is this part of the circuit, of course, climbing the way up and down the mountain. You've just got to try to just chase that car as much as possible. You don't want to get that close, but when you come down and the dipper down into the elbow, that's the point where I said he's got to be super, super close. If he does this right now, if he can get to 2/10, you got to basically read every detail on the back of the car, of Reese Wakefield's car. And then he should have a fantastic run out of Conroy Straight. That is barring, of course, the fuel they have set in there, and how they got that set up there for the straight speed too that you need, because that's a difficult balance around here. You've got your street circuit, and then you've got your long straights mixed all into one.
So we take a look at the standings so far, and you can see that Hayden Cupid still maintaining a nice gap there to Seth Stevens. It's a little easier to see when we combine them all into the one timing tower, just how much distance there really is between each of these drivers.
Nice.
Way.
Yeah. Did you see on the exit there at the moment, just couldn't quite get the confidence down to hit the loud pedal for DC. So it just couldn't, that opened up about half a second gap, and there's no way you're going to be able to get him down Conrod Straight that far back. So it's so close at the start of the lap, but just towards the end of that. Also, DC knows this. Drivers know that. That's an overtaking opportunity, so they want to maximise the FX. I saw DC just a little oversteer moment, just pushed it a little bit too much on the exit of the elbow. You got to do that, but somehow you have to find a way of pushing it so much into the entrance so that the car just carries that momentum and speed out of it, and then you've perfected the mountain.
I mean, perfecting the mountain is it's a tricky thing, isn't it?
Peter Perfect tried it. Yeah, almost done it. Peter Brock, of course. A few drivers have done it at their time, but of course, that's their job.
Yeah, it absolutely is. To make our way up Mountain Straight once more, there is still a long way to go here tonight. It's so easy to start to think about, okay, the finishing positions already, but with such a long distance race, it really is going to... It's going to be challenging for these drivers to remember that it's not a sprint. It's one thing to sit at the start of the race and tell yourself, I've got 400 kilometers ahead of me, I'm going to take it easy. But you get caught up in this racing, and you really just want to push on the whole time. And that's when you start to see those mistakes creep in. Right now, no mistakes from those front group. That distance extending out now to almost 7 seconds. But it stopped growing at the rate it was earlier.
I want to check out Daniel's run down. Because he's very, very close to Ty. I want to see if he gets a good exit out of the elbow here, because this is very, very close. This is a great position to be. You can see confidence on the braking here. We're swinging it over to the left on the loud pedal. Gas it, boys. They're both gassing it. Danny P also a little correction on the steering. And then about 3/10 he was out of the elbow. Got a bit of a gap over Jamie. Is it enough? I don't think it's enough. We're going to get into that slipstream and say about 2/10. It's going to be, he could do a late send here, but no, I think Danny P knows there's a long race to go. He might stick his nose out there and kind of make Ty check his mirrors, but no, ain't going to happen. Look at that. That's good. That's good running from both drivers, actually, and that's how you have to try to do it here in Bathurst.
Ty Delaney, though, will have him absolutely under control. We know Delaney is very, very quick and a clever driver at that. I think it's going to take a lot more than
just further back. Actually, Damon McDonald got around Hayden actually, so he executed that move that we were kind of looking to see if Danny was going to do it, but it ain't over yet. They're still kind of chiseling at that one.
Yeah, look, Hayden's got to just remind himself at this point, this is not his battle. His battle doesn't actually start all the way back to P12 on track. Seth Stevens is the first of the silver drivers, and right now Cupid's got almost a 4.5 second lead over him. So he's just got to keep a cool head, recognise that he's surrounded by gold split drivers. He doesn't need to battle them. In fact, it might even make more sense for him to let them past if they're causing him issues under brakes, because he does not want to lose this top spot here tonight.
It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
It's gold.
From the Seinfeld episode, of course. But that's every time I think of gold. It's like, gold, Jerry, gold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's going to be gold for both of these drivers, even though the silver split drivers, they're still not going to be getting a silver medal. They'll get a nice little gold medal. Silver will be for P2 for any of the drivers, and of course the old bronze for P3. But at this point, these drivers are worried too much about that. They're just, once again, first thinking about how I can tackle this notorious mountain, this fantastic classic racetrack, and then deeper in this race, they're going to kind of ponder, well, let's see how this is going to work out for me.
We were talking earlier about the championship standings and how Scott Stevens has a lot of work to do. He is putting in the work early, up 8 positions already, sitting 4th in the silver split right now, and he is right on the tail of Mitch Curry as he looks to move further up. Here he is, in fact. See Mitch Curry there and Scott Stevens, rather. These two Stevens boys always confusing.
Oh, Reese Wakefield's gone off somewhere.
Reese Wakefield has gone off.
This could be a track blocker. Ooh, just in by himself. Cars can get around.
That is a very, very tough spot to be caught up in.
Painfully wait for practically the rest of the field.
Any opportunity to move.
He can't move.
Absolutely right.
There's no gaps whatsoever at this point to go anywhere. He's got to wait for about another 3-4 more cars coming around. Keep continuing. So look exactly how it happened for Reese.
Down into the cutting. Into the dipper of the cutting. Just lights up over that curve, and that's put him sideways. Unfortunately, just ended up completely sideways, and that is about the worst orientation for your car if you're trying to get rolling again.
Yeah. And good on Reese. It's frustrating for the 969, but he did do the right thing. He had to stay absolutely still. It's kind of like you're pretending you're getting ready to take a photo in the 1900s. Don't smile, stay still as possible, because it takes about 10 minutes to take a photo. And Reese, to Reese, that would have felt like 10 minutes of race time. But he is up and running again, so he's back in the 30th overall. But check out the Brisbane boy, mate. Reese Wakefield's got some aces up his sleeve.
It's still a long way to go in this race, so it's one of those things, right? As a driver, if you find yourself in that sort of position, you've just got to remind yourself it's only lap 8, lap 7 at that point, to be fair. It's only lap 7. We've still got another 60 odd laps to go. There's no reason to risk getting T-boned by trying to get underway again sooner. You've got time to catch us up. There's going to be a safety car at some point, I'm sure. It really is just about...
I know you've been asking for it. We know.
I've been asking for it. I know. Just come on, bring the safety car on, guys. No,
not yet. Because I like this good green flag running so that they can, really get an idea of the indication of the pace. Plus, they're burning the gas and stuff like that. If they start spreading out too much, and you see in your timing tower, if that starts becoming all white and there's no close battles, then somebody get out, get old Skippy to jump across the track or something like that, and then let's re-rack them, restack them. But for now, I'm enjoying this green flag run.
We'll roll with it, won't we? Have a look at the marbles already building up through the dipper there. It's going to be very, very slippery if you find yourself offline. And Mitch Curry gets very loose, just manages to hold at those rear tyres. screaming with a bit of extra heat in there. As you see just behind him, Henry King taps the wall on the way through Forest Elbow as well. But here we go, down Conrod Straight once again. And of course, Scott Stevens able to capitalise on Mitch Curry's unfortunate loss of control there on the way down the hill. And Stevens moves through into third. I can tell you what, Biggles, I'm already doing some maths here, and I'm gonna keep a close eye on this because Scott Stevens is on his way, and he is hunting Hayden Cupid right now.
Yeah, biggest gainer, as you said, 11 places up there for Scotty. Difficulty, battling it out in the different classes, but at this point, you kind of just got to throw that out the door, isn't it? And say, look, I'm fighting for a championship here. I know that there's other drivers in the different classes and that they're doing theirs, but, hey, it's holding me up, I feel, and it's holding me up to the driver that I need to catch up the road there to beat my championship, of course, with Colpit. So that's the way it's going to pan out. I'd say the gloves are off, my friend, and the elbows maybe out a little bit more here for the finale.
I suspect so, absolutely. And these three out in front absolutely left the gloves at the starting line, didn't even bother to put them on. They are just out there and trying to extend this lead just over 7 seconds now, back to fourth place in Thomas Wilson. And looking to really dominate this from lap one, Delaney, Poulton and Dyke just working as a unit for the moment. At some point they're going to have to start to figure out how they might battle it out. Delaney's got all of the defensive work to do, and Bathurst is certainly a track that makes defending reasonably easy. There's not a lot of room through a lot of these corners, and what little room there is taken up with all of the debris that these cars will be throwing off.
And the middle sector as well too, you have absolutely zero time to check your mirrors because you've got to keep your eyes peeled straight. You've got to keep your eyes on your braking markers in those corners and certainly those walls. So the only time you get your breathing space, of course, is when you go down Conrod Straight right now into obviously sector 3, and then you've got your heavy braking zones, of course, into the final corner and then Hell's Corner. And that's, you got to nail this perfectly. But you do, it's a lot less stressful than what they've just been through recently up and down the mountain. So that's where you can start looking in your mirrors. You can start saying, oh yeah, Danny's getting a little closer to my mirrors than what I thought before. Danny is certainly getting closer at the moment, but he's sticking his nose out there trying to throw Ty off. I think Ty's read that play a few times and has covered it off beautifully. But there's another opportunity coming up here now. Well, it's in Hell's Corner, but another one, next one, climbing up, of course, up the mountain. There's an opportunity to shove it up the right-hand side there. If Ty goes defensive, if Ty goes to the racing line. But if you do go up to the left-hand side, Ty's on the race defending here at the moment, but we'll see whether or not he switches over to the racing line, which he does. You can stick your nose in there and be last of the late breakers with Danny, but you compromise so much of your exit and you could scrub off your speed into the next couple of turns. So at this point, I don't think he does it. On top of it, you got to think of the situation is that Danny P's, contemplating your own strategy. I would see how these drivers pan out because of the fact that, let's see if you go another dozen laps, then you might have some lap traffic. Lap traffic certainly could come and play.
The other thing for Ty Delaney to keep his eye on here, of course, is that his battle at the moment really is with Jamie Dyke. Daniel Poulton does not factor into the championship right now. He's not close enough for Delaney and Dyke to even be super concerned about given their position on track. So really, even if he was to make it past, it's not going to make enough of a difference in this championship fight. Delaney and Dyke are the ones battling here. Danny P just happens to be literally and figuratively in the middle of it at this point.
Well, it depends on the other hand, which drivers slip a bit of coin to Danny P and say, hey, you can be my wingman here tonight, mate, and help me out with this with our championship hump. And of course, Danny P. I can't see any Danny P supporters out there. What's going on? Where's Danny P's fan club?
Oh, they're around. Cram's here tonight. I know he's a supporter as always. Good to have you back with us tonight, Cram. And keep an eye now on the battle for 8th. Ryan Smith, Jackson Austin and Luke Newing making their way down Conrod together. And you're starting to see the different strategies play out as these drivers get a little bit of separation between them. It's you can just see a couple of seconds just forming between each of these. Only a couple of packs going on at this stage, but Jackson Austin certainly looking for an opportunity to make his way past Ryan Smith. Luke Newing we haven't seen a huge amount of this season, but he's certainly up there. He's up 3 positions from his starting place.
Danny's got the lead. Sorry to cut you off on that one too. Danny got the lead from Ty. I can't
Go back and have a look and see what's
recall
happening
which
there.
corner it was, but no, it's in Hells, isn't it? It's in Hells.
Yeah, so just got the inside line, pushed his way through. And look, I think, honestly, given how hard he was pressing there, probably the right decision by Ty Delaney. You know, there's no need, and he certainly wouldn't want to be getting taken out by Danny trying something silly, perhaps, a little too deep into one of the corners. So probably the right call, I would think, to just stay safe, stay at the top of the field, and keep an eye on David Coleman and make sure that Coleman might finish far enough back that Delaney could be in it. You never know. You never know. It's going to be a big ask, but right now, if we were to finish this at the end of this lap for whatever reason, David Coleman still close enough to Ty Delaney that he should hold on to the championship here.
I'm just curious, when you say that Danny P can't win the championship, he could. He's only 91 points behind the leaders.
Oh, look, you're right, he could, but
if
it would take
they don't finish
pretty
anywhere
phenomenal.
decent.
Yeah, it would take something pretty phenomenal for that to happen. You know, I think and look, you know, for argument's sake, Danny P finishes first. You said, what, 91 points the difference there?
Yep, 91 points.
So we
let's
would
say he
have to
gets
see.
200.
Yeah, we'd have to see Ty Delaney finish about 23rd here
Well, let's say
tonight?
Ty gets in it with Dyke and they take each other out. That's only Aaron Gilbert then in the mix.
Yeah, and that's ultimately for Danny P to have a shot at the championship. Delaney, Coleman, Dyke would all have to actually get taken out tonight. Because we've only got, we've got 14 in the field. Assuming that these drivers all see the checkered flag tonight, the smallest number of points on offer is 136. So the biggest gap in points you're going to see in gold tonight is 64 points. So anyone further back than that, again barring a non-finisher, anyone further back than that is not going to have a shot at the title this evening. So all that Delaney, Dyke and Coleman have to do to finish in the top three really is pretty well finish tonight.
Yes. To finish first you must finish, of course. That's
there is that, and 400k's at Bathurst is certainly a good opportunity.
But you know what's going to happen, right? If you got those fishing motorsports drivers all line astern, battling it out for the championship between them on track, there is a possibility that somebody's going to risk it for the biscuit and someone's going to get fenced and there may be a dinner. But that's out of 3 drivers. I mean, you need all 3 to take each other out. That would be pretty rare. 2 at best. I mean, 1 at best, and another one might leap home.
Yeah, entirely possible, right? I'm just doing some numbers here, looking at our points. So Scott Stevens, of course, doing everything he can to make his way up through the field and get in touch with Hayden Cupid out there. Cupid holding the championship by just 10 points over the HJR Jinx Shifters entry of Scott Stevens, which means that, assuming that Stevens can find himself in P1, Cupid's going to have to finish P2 to hold on to this championship tonight. That's how tight it is. If he finishes P3, or rather, if he finishes P3, he's going to have to finish with the fastest lap for the night to tie it up. So there's a few different ways that this can play out, and Biggles, I am here for it, mate.
I think Hayden put in an absolutely fantastic qualifying lap. You know, he's 4 positions down currently at the moment from where it was, but that 999, that's what you need to do. Good qualifying, get your momentum into Bathurst for the endurance race, knowing you're in a good position, knowing you've got a gaggle of cars between yourself and Scotty is huge. Scotty has to do a lot more work, whereas Hayden just has to kind of drive his own race and be a little bit more reliable, knowing that he has that gaggle of cars between them. Of course, that's gold split drivers generally we're talking about that are between them, but that's all he needs, distance between himself, because he knows that Scotty's got to get the work done on the track, and the more Scotty has to get his work done on the track, the more chances there are that Scotty can make a mistake. So Hayden's in the hot seat.
Have a look at this little pack going on. Seth Stevens on the back of it from the silver split is just tagging along for the ride, but Nicholas Garrioch, the Frog Leap Juice Racing entry, in the lead for battle for 7th in the gold split, followed by Ryan Smith, Luke Newing, Aaron Gilbert and Jackson Austin, all in hot pursuit as we head up Mountain Straight once again. So far so good. Lap 13 of 65 all reasonably clean running so far. As I say that, Dylan Thomas has had a crash in the background as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll go back
the final
and take a look
turn.
at that.
Somebody else went almost into the Repco fence, but they're okay. Greg Patrick's going very, very slow. He's off to racing line, but he's just gone back up. So I'm just letting people know on the pictures that you're not seeing the screen, but I'm just letting you know what Greg Patrick's up there.
So here we go, Dylan Thomas. Got our chopper cam here. Let's see if there's any contacts. Oh, there is. Yeah, so Greg Patrick's turned him, so Patrick will be looking to redress, I would say. He's just going to sit and wait. That does mean, obviously, you see one of the Alpine Pro Racing entries slide.
Yeah, that's the one that almost hit the fence just outside the pit lane entrance, but he's okay. Didn't hit the fence. It was a good save for him. He continue on.
I'm just having a look. I wonder who that might have been. Might have been Rory Collins, perhaps.
I think it was Rory, yeah. So hats off to Rory for
keep
a save, and he'll be a little panicky after that one. But hey, it fuels you. Those saves like that fuels you, make you stronger. And go, all right, I'm surviving the mountain.
Hey, speaking of surviving, let's go all the way back to the start of the race and see what happened to poor old Brian Palmer into turn one. Because we didn't actually get a chance to go back and have a look at this off the start. So here he is on the outside as we come to Hell Corner, moves across the inside, taps almost the rear of his teammate.
Did he get contact, or it looked like he might have been moving again? Under
there
braking.
was contact there with Adrian Gresh from Alpine Pro.
You'd have to see whether or not there was contact, or if he got loose under braking, but there's no double moving under braking. And to me, well, that angle, of course, was a bad angle. It just looked like he moved across once. But if it looked like he moved across twice, that would have been a bit of a no-no with Stewart's there.
Yeah, look, we've already seen that a couple of reports have come through, and so far, no penalties being issued anywhere throughout the field. So I suspect they've had a look at that and decided that
he might have locked it under braking. It's hard
possible.
to see. It's easy because it wasn't a heavy braking zone, of course, in the Hell's Corner, so there's a good possibility. The rear end was getting loosey-goosey at that point too, so it's either because of the contact earlier. We know there was contact after, but it could have just been a lock-up, the rear end slide, and around it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, take a look up front at your timing tower. Jamie Dyke has decided to just step away a little bit, I suspect, from the battle between Danny P and Ty Delaney. Just letting it drift out to a second and a half back from Delaney right now. But Danny P and Delaney still in amongst it. And it's just one to keep an eye on. I do wonder if Jamie Dyke's decided to play the long game here and just settle in for the rest of this 400 kilometres of racing. So far, the times surprisingly quick. I had anticipated that we were probably in for about 2.5 hours of racing tonight. We still could be. You never know. That safety car again. I keep trying to manifest it, but nothing happening.
We have 4
so
hours
far.
max, so they have to get it done by that.
Got to get done by then.
I think we'll be okay.
Look, I had estimated about 2.5 hours based on, I think, a 2-minute 20 average lap. Right now, these guys making it around still in 2:10s, 2:11s, so very, very quick times for an endurance race.
Speaking of quick, DC putting a bit of pressure there on David McDonald, as he got a fantastic run out at Chase, and he's going to be heading down into the final turn. I can't remember the name of this turn, actually.
This is Murray's, my friend.
Sorry?
Murray's is the final
Murray's, that's it. You told me this last time.
Panorama.
Yeah, how un-Australian am I on that one, but it is what it is.
Honestly, I spend most of my night here at Bathurst getting confused between the dipper and the cutting, and I don't quite know why. It's the dipper is obviously a dip, and the cutting is obviously a cutting into the side of Mount Panorama. But still, I find myself getting all jumbled about because I'm just so damn excited to see these cars here at Bathurst, mate.
I know, you're so excited, you just can't hide it.
Exactly.
You're about to lose control.
Right. Hopefully none of these drivers losing control tonight. Because we have seen some beautiful
of Ryan Smith is hopefully not going to get too sideways, trying to get past the 366 of Nicholas for the Frog Leap Juice race. It's juiced. It's juicy.
It's a mouthful, isn't it? It really is.
The juice that makes it juicy when it comes to the Frog Leap Racing team of Nicholas, and he's got his teammate behind him as well too, and so they're going to working together, but trying to find their way past Nicholas is the key, and wouldn't be doing anywhere around here.
No, it's not the sort of place you want to be trying to pass up and over Skyline. It's possible, don't get me wrong, but it is risky. Very, very risky to try and take
Yeah, I think there's probably about 2 or 3 supercar moments in history that's kind of really been done successfully, that is, of course, and some takes to be done unsuccessfully. Ty's going to put some pressure back on Danny P for the lead, but yeah, very close. I think Ty might want to retake this one. He's not either letting or wanting Danny to control this race, even though, as you said, that finish this race right now, no problemo for Ty. He's got the championship, but Danny P, he's not going to give this position up. He's happy to lead this race, and I think as well too, that's probably quite clever for him, for the Antique Motorsports entry, because he wants to keep the fishy entries behind him, because, you know, he don't like smelling fish. Perhaps he doesn't like eating fish. I don't know.
Perhaps. Just on that, if Ty Delaney can finish with the win tonight, David Coleman just needs to finish 4th or better to hold on to the
all right,
the
so I was still
championship.
correct. If the lap was to finish now, because DC's in P6.
Yeah, he would lose enough points back there that it is going to cost him a championship. So David Coleman, look, he'll be playing the long game as always. We know Coleman's always got a bit of a strategy up his sleeve. But right now, tucked in behind Damon McDonald, and he'll be looking to improve his position here as they come very, very quickly towards Griffin's Bend. Around the outside is very, very brave through here, and you see Coleman just back off and tuck back in there. It's a dangerous spot to try and pass around the outside, and not one that you see, again, very often. The cutting also not going to afford him any opportunity, so really he just needs to set up here and be ready to make a run down Conrod Straight.
I think you're right. Yeah, absolutely right. So you don't. That would be a crazy risk. That's kind of like, you know, you're an 18-year-old and you just got your car for the first time. You got a sports car and you're just going to go for a goal. And then you got to tell your driver, if you're DC, it's like, okay, mate, you've got the kids in the car at the moment, all right? You've got.
Take a breath.
Take a breath. You're not going to be driving like that if you have kids in the back of the car. So, you know, that's how he needs to kind of drive at this point. Just drive like you've got the kids in the back. So put your turn signal on and overtake when there's a possibility to overtake as safe as possible, because you're in a good position for the championship here. And you don't want to throw it all away being like an 18-year-old kid that's just got his license for the first time.
They make their way
that's
down
my metaphor
Conrod
of
Straight.
how to drive.
No, I like it. I like it. Make way down Conrad Straight. It doesn't look like Coleman's got the position here.
Mind you, but I do not suggest anybody at home have kids in a racing car when you're going around Bathurst at 200 kilometers an hour plus. I think everybody gets my drift at home. Trying to DC just to calm down a little bit and overtake when there's an overtaking opportunity.
Scott Stevens and Seth Stevens, not content with confusing us by being in the same race, have decided to line themselves up right next to each other. So Seth Stevens following Scott Stevens through here.
We have just Ted Kravis you on that one. Action Jackson's gone into pit lane. So this is the first of the pit stops that we're seeing from any of the drivers that haven't been involved in any incidents, so I'll keep an eye on that one for to jinx it race-ons.
Yeah, Ronald Long has gone in a little early, but that was after an off-track, so I suspect he's picked up a bit of damage from that, and of course Rory Collins earlier making his stop after the damage. I'm just trying to check in with race control at the moment. We have been informed of a penalty there, so we're just going to try and see that. Oh, Henry King runs very, very wide, manages to pull it up before hitting the wall. But
was that penalty on Action Jackson? Or that's a scheduled pit stop?
I'm not actually sure.
No, he didn't do a drive-through, so that's a
drive-through. There's a post-race penalty that's been issued. I'm just looking for the details with race control right now, but it looks like it might be for Dylan Thomas from the lap 12. So this incident was a little while ago now.
Yes, sir. Well, to give you information, that Action Jackson came back out there in P21, so he just got ahead of a bit of traffic, which is perfect for him, for 41. And Ted Kravis told me in my ear it was about 43 seconds overall, about 11-second pit stop. I think the car did go up on jacks, but I'm not sure if he took all tyres. But that's what Ted told me. So don't shoot the messenger.
Hey, not shooting any messengers here. They make their way down through Forest Elbow. Nicholas Garrioche is going to have Luke Newing right in behind him. Let's see how much Newing closes the gap here as they make their way down Conrod. He's going to have just enough. Oh, Nathan Allen jumping in the chat here. Number 311, a 10-second post-race penalty. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. That's Greg Patrick with a 10-second post-race. So that's not going to impact on any of our championship calculations. That's what I like to see. Mr. Allen, I will send you a message in just a moment as well, so that we can try and get that info directly to everybody on the broadcast.
I don't mind it in the chat as well too, because we can read it and everybody else can read it as well. I know you're very busy.
It doesn't.
And Steph Stevens in pit road.
Stevens goes in, and this is where you might start to see a few of those first stops happening, right? Just splitting the race into equal thirds.
That's the second pit stop. I'll keep an eye on that down the pit road for you, where you've got to keep your eyes peeled on that fantastic action, as you can see around P8 at the moment. So I'll just let you know whether... I mean, you've seen cars down pit roads before. It's not that exciting, but you can see those pictures of two cars heading up here. It's certainly exciting there, Darren.
Pushes Damon McDonald wide and takes that position. I think he's been working on that one for a little while. Let's go back and see if we can catch a little bit of the entry to that corner and that pass, because he really sent it under brakes there, very, very late on it, and just jams that Camaro up the inside of the Mustang. Coleman gets the grip on the exit, and nothing really that Damon McDonald could do except go wide and tuck him
Damon was
behind.
turning in, like he almost turned in like he was like, surely DC wasn't going to be there. And thankfully, a little bit of door banging, but it wasn't enough to turn anybody, so there it is. Steph Stevens heading out of pit stop at the moment, mate. I think his pit stop was actually 34 seconds, so he's taken a heavy load and some boots as well, mate.
That is a reasonably long pit stop, all things considered. So yeah, I think it's it's probably a good sign of what we're going to expect from any of the drivers coming in here. They want to try and fill it right up. Now, they are running the, as we see, Dan Liciardo has crashed out in P7 in the silver split. They're running the full tank size tonight, so the full 132, 133 litres that you can fit into these supercars, which will get you a fair way around. I don't know if you'd be able to one-stop this kind of distance. You should probably be able to one-stop it if you choose your time for that refill. But yeah, absolutely, as Luke Speck says in the chat.
Luke setting up the inside, but it could be a fantastic overtake. I love the chase, my friend. I love the chase. It's so glad that they added that into Bathurst many years ago, and you get the job done, mate. You got the job done. Let's see whether or not Nicholas can fight this one back at the moment. You got to remember too that there's a Sodaweeds esports entry of Ryan Smith just behind down the road, and then you've got Aaron Gilbert. So this is a fantastic little squabble for P8 currently at the moment here on lap 19 on 65.
So 1/3 of the race done, more or less, and this battle, I don't think these guys have stopped for the last probably 10 laps. Newing, Garriosh, Smith and Gilbert just continue to change positions.
So, yeah, there's some pit stops
starting to happen,
scheduled,
absolutely.
my friend. Yep, around this point now. But as Luke Speck said, two-stop only way to make it home. And the good news, of course, announced by the FIA is that the Monaco Boring Snooze Fest Grand Prix is actually be forced to be a two-stopper this year, so that we might get some excitement. As Gresh has not had a moment. Unless he had a moment around Chase, but anyway. Continue there,
entirely possible.
Yeah.
Not seeing anything on our telemetry to suggest it, but Gresh certainly
I think it's a little
time
runoff out of the final, before the final turn. It triggers a point there near the pit lane entrance. But,
of course, the old fake out pit lane entry that iRacing loves to throw at us from time to time, right?
If you run really slow through there, it might indicate it's a crash, but it's not.
There you go. Luke Speck confirming that you absolutely have to two-stop this to make it home. Yeah. So you can't look, I mean, you could try and one-stop it with a massive fuel-saving strategy, but I don't think you're going to be fast enough to be competitive.
It's a possibility that the likes of, who was it? Steph Stevens may have tried that. 34.78 second pit stop. But then again, we don't always have the cameras on the drivers, and they do float up the fence quite a bit, and they do scrape it a few times, and there could be a slight bit of damage that they try to chip out in the pit stops.
Absolutely possible. As we go on board now with Ryan Smith, just tucked in behind Nicholas Garriosh as we make our way down towards Murray's and ready to take on another lap. Because this is probably not a bad view for us to take in a lap of Bathurst. If you've never seen this from inside of a Gen 3 supercar, keep your eyes peeled as Hayden Cupid sets another fastest lap in the silver split, 2:10.8. So he knows that Scott Stevens is coming for him.
But Axton Jackson just set the fastest lap over at 2:09 after he came fresh out of the pit stops there. So he's at 11 seconds in the pit stops. I don't think he took any tyres. That's absolutely blistering pace. He's got clear air.
But yeah, that is a very quick stop. It's just thinking 48 seconds in the lane, 11 seconds, almost 12 seconds.
Yeah,
in the
that's just got to be fuel. I mean, if you got, he's putting Baker laps in like he's got fresh tyres on too. But I mean, you're talking about he's lapping about 2 seconds almost than half the field currently on that lap alone. As
it's a very
goes
interesting stop time, isn't it? It's almost like he's decided to 3-stop it and just take tyres on this one.
That is a possibility, and why not? It may work out for him.
I don't know why he would.
Well, a safety car coming out could definitely come in your favour.
That's very true. Ryan Smith makes his way up Skyline, struggling to stay with Nicholas Garriosh ahead of him, and Luke Ewing also starting to pull away. He's got Aaron Gilbert right on his tail as they make their way down through the S's and towards the cutting. A very, very technical part of the circuit here. And really, you lose all feeling through the wheel as you come down through the cutting there. The car just gets so light as the road just drops away.
Yeah, it's like floating. Like it's like that roller coaster effect, isn't it? When you just like at the almost at zero gravity and your stomach goes, ooh.
Yeah, it's like that. It's one of those times that I'm very happy to be driving at home on a sim rig rather than in the real thing, because I don't know how it would actually feel to drop away like that. It terrifies me, honestly.
And you, because you're so light, and you feel like if you need to slam on the anchors, it ain't going to work because the car's barely touched. There's no downforce. The car's barely touching the ground at that point. So you slam on the anchors, you know, they're like, oh, my brake pedal, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. And that's why you see so many mistakes, actually, for some of the drivers.
Down we come again, round Murray's Corner. These guys have been super consistent. Their last lap's all within just a couple of tenths of each other, and this time around, no different. They're all quite comfortably sitting around that 2:11 mark. Scott Stevens sets himself a new fastest time of 2:10, so he is absolutely trying to get on the back of this group of drivers. He's a few seconds back. You can just see him in the background of some of the shots. He's trying to tack on here, but the challenge really will be to see whether he can actually make it past these drivers and then try and catch up the almost 6 seconds up the road to Hayden Cupid.
Just to give you some information about Nathan Borman, he's just come out of pit road. He's been there for about a minute and change. Had some repairs. He's going to be slotting out there in a bit of traffic, but he is running a couple laps down there in that P31 place. Who's that stopped on track? Oh,
yeah, Martin Lipsky just getting a turn
that's Martin
around.
Lipsky, yeah.
So he's off the racing line as Mitch Curry comes past. And of course, behind him is Jake Rebillard. So Lipsky just staying on the way because he's already a lap down.
Yeah, so exactly. That's clever to know. He's completely off the racing line there. He's waiting to get back up to speed. He knows that it's not a good idea for him to try to get back on the loud pedal with a whole bunch of flying cars coming around. So once again, a great show of sportsmanship.
Josh Marsh is into the wall at Griffins.
Oh, that's Josh Marsh.
Yeah, so he's in the wall there. Are we going to see our first safety car of the night? He does
not
appear to be moving.
This is a high-speed corner too, so they got plenty of time to see him. You can see, so they can see the car right at the road there. Hopefully the spotters and stuff are loading to let them know that there is a car in the fence on the exit.
See what's happened here. He's gone up the inside to try and take Daniel Harrod. Big.
He's locked the brakes completely. That's a hard lick.
He's blowing the motor. He's blowing the motor there on the downshift. That first puff of smoke was his engine going.
How are they going to get those tow trucks out there in that position? That's going to be very, very interesting.
We'll watch that one more time. Take a look at this, the downshift, and you'll see that puff of smoke. The engine goes as the rear tyres lock up. Yeah. And then into the wall. Huge
I was going to say we see
impact.
that on board.
If
you got small children.
I'd rather not, honestly.
Jared's too kind to these drivers. They go on board and see their heads just like thrown around the chassis as they have a 14G impact into the fence.
Yeah, so now he sits in the pits and we wait to see how long that'll take.
We see you out there, Greg Brooks. Good evening to you, my friend.
Hey, Greg is back with us.
How are you doing this evening?
It's a pleasure.
Well, this is where traffic comes into play. This is where pit stops come into play. This is where the mountain always comes into play. You're going to buy her some flowers, my friend. Take her out to a nice dinner. Say, you're the best, baby, you're the best, and she'll treat you kindly. Those wolves won't come out and bite you. much.
Nicholas Garrioch going very wide out of the cutting, just overcooked it a little bit, and that's brought Ryan Smith right onto his tail. Aaron Gilbert says, yes, please, I'll get in on that as well. So now Garrioch goes from chasing Newing to defending from Smith and Gilbert up and across Skyline. It's not a great place to feel like you're under pressure, because the braking as you make your way into the S's is one of the most mentally taxing sections of this circuit, knowing just how much pressure to apply to avoid the lockup and to avoid having to take that runoff road you see to the left there. Look at the marbles.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There is one line through that corner, and if you're not on it, you are into the fence, my friends.
Yeah, you got to switch it over to marbles on the stream. Now, at the moment, we're talking
Jeez, I haven't
You're losing
about that
your
one in a long
marbles,
time.
Jared. I think some of the drivers are losing their marbles out there at the moment on the track. That goes to show you how much grip is going to be losing a little bit later on as well. But we're still waiting to see around the pit stops for at least 2/3 of the field at the moment. Action Jackson's probably the highest ranked driver at the moment, running a P17. And he boxed back on lap 16, and he's done some banker laps in as well too. He's doing 2:11, between 2:09s and 2:11s. He's gone back to 2:11 club now. He was putting bankers in before. So we're continuing to see a nice fight on the field here for around Ryan Smith, as you said, trying to put pressure there on Nicholas. Up the road there for the Frog League Juiced Racing Team. And Aaron Gilbert's on his tailpipe too, mate, so three-way little battle.
Absolutely. Take a look at the weather conditions here. The temperature has actually gone up a little. So we're approaching 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and that sun has not lost any of its bright. Still sitting at 27 degrees. The track temp has come down ever so slightly, but you're still talking 46 degrees. These tyres must be starting to get to the end of their useful life.
I hope you get the sunblock on, especially up here, even here down here in Bathurst. Josh Harris heading in pit road there for the ADHD racing entry. I'll keep an eye on him. He went in on around the 17th or so position, so he'll drop a couple, but we'll get that long-awaited pit stop over for him.
You see race control just updating car number 16, a 10-second post-race penalty for contact on lap 18. So car number 16, of course, being Ryan Palmer. A 10-second post-race penalty. We were talking about Palmer maybe being in amongst it, but between his early incident and that penalty, I would say that
was that one early on lap 1 into Hell's Corner where he...
No, that was lap 18. No. So there's been another bit of contact somewhere along the way that has resulted in a 10-second post-race penalty for Mr. Palmer, which you've got to think takes him out of contention for any of the top prizes here this evening.
Josh Harris is coming out of pit road at the moment, so okay, yeah, it's a 42-second stationary pit stop. I don't know if he chipped out a bit of damage there for the 989 ADHD racing entry, but that could be a one-stopper.
Oh, geez, that'd be a long
stretch
drive, wouldn't it? Yeah,
it's a long pit stop. I mean, 42 seconds. It did not put it up on jacks either, so it didn't change any tyres. That's got to be just complete gas, or perhaps, most likely, maybe two, just shipped out some repairs.
What do you reckon, the late splash and dash? Nicholas Garrioch off into the sand at Hell Corner. And you see it every time, don't you? It's
Scott Stevens is in the pit road. Yeah, no, yeah, you do see that. That's what's Hell's Corner, my friend. It's interesting contact there. That's the pressure mounted, isn't it? And
let's go back and take another look at that. So Nicholas Garrioch just runs too deep. This is coming down the last corner into Murray's, just gets it locked up into the marbles and then nowhere to go. Finds himself in the kitty litter and having to come back out. Now the other driver's going to have to be careful, because that's going to leave a lot of debris on that racing line. And you can see just how much Garrioch is struggling to get the power down there.
A little wiggle and a giggle and a bobble and a jiggle.
Henry King's brought some of that debris across to the middle of the track as well. So these two will battle it out for 10th now. And all of a sudden, that's really opened up this field. In fact, right at the moment, these two, the only two drivers that are particularly close to each other on track, as we see a few pit stops happening. Scott Stevens has gone in.
He's just come out. It's just coming out now. I'm keeping an eye on him. So it's a 41-second stationary pit stop. And I didn't see the car up on jack, so maybe just be gasolina. It might be a little deceiving for me. His car's maybe taking tyres. I mean, 41-second pit stop, you could actually take tyres, no problems. But It just maybe visually not showing that long. Ted Cruz is not giving me the right camera angles, but Ted Kravis, not Cruz. There we go. He's come back out, but he's come back out in traffic. So he's got the car 22nd place car team. I'm just trying to see who it is actually. No, he's going to get past them, no problem. It's all right. So Scott Stevens' car at the moment, pick 21.
Still maintaining a fair improvement on where he was sitting. G'day, Nicholas. Welcome to the coverage, mate. And in fact, as we see him jump on in, we will welcome to the combox Nick Patasso. Spud, welcome back, mate.
G'day, fellas. Great to be here, jumping in late for the commentary call here at MC Motorsport. It's great to see some familiar faces, familiar voices in Jared, and also to hear your voice for the first time, Biggles. I've heard a lot of good things about you, great things about you on your side of things. I've been loving the calls here at MC Motorsport for the inaugural Supercars series, but as I'm starting to catch up, boys, I'm just going to catch up on a couple of things and just see where we're at, but hopefully it's been a great coverage so far for you guys.
Pleasure to meet you there, Spud, mate. I'm seeing a couple of bunch of drivers heading down to pit, in pit road at the moment. Nicholas is in, Aaron's in, Mitch Curry, the boss man, is all down in pit road, mate. So this is you've come in at the crunch time too, because this is when these drivers are electing to do first, as what we're contemplating, of the second pit stop strategies that are required around here in the mountain.
We've been reliably informed, at least I would hope reliably, by our good friend and fellow driver here, Luke Speck, that a two-stopper is going to be absolutely essential tonight. Mate, I don't know, maybe Biggles, your thoughts so far, but these stops have been really interestingly timed. We've seen a number of drivers go in fairly early for what you'd think for a two-stop. You've got a couple of them going in at around laps 16, 17, which is not really quite how you'd expect to split it, but it could be that they're going for that shorter first stop for fuel. What do you think is on their minds here?
Oh, they're getting some absolutely it's all about just finding the space on the track is one thing too. So you got to just to get you spotted there, crunch the numbers, and make sure you get some clean air, get some banker laps. And we saw that earlier, actually, from one of the drivers that took an earlier pit stop. At the moment, that was Axel Jackson, who's currently at the moment up in P12. So elected in the back on lap 16, and he put banker laps in the fastest lap actually. And so this point right now, drivers, I think it's just more about traffic than anything. You've got to find some space. You get tucked up behind a car there, you know that at least for 2/3 of Bathurst, you ain't getting any overtaking done.
See Darren Lofton doing everything he can to hold off Nicholas Garrioch. These guys battling it out like they're in the same split as Lofton hits the wall and relinquishes the spot through that. Yeah, that's got to have caused some damage to the steering on that Mustang. And Garrioch makes his way on through and sets his sights further up the road. Really a long way to go yet, because Aaron Gilbert is the next on track in the gold split, and he is all the way up in P17 on track, almost 19 seconds ahead of Garrioch right now. So the pit stop putting Garrioch a fair way back, but he'll be looking for the second attempt at that as everyone else starts to come through for their stops. Right now, the first of the cars on track that has completed their pit stop is this man right here, Jackson Austin. Finds himself only a couple of spots down from where he started in the gold split after his first stop. And it was a quick one though. We haven't quite worked out the reason for that. Nick, leaning on your experience, Nick, a 12-second stop in a Gen3 supercar, that's not a lot of time at all for him to have taken on very much fuel or tyres. Any thoughts on what perhaps he's gone in for?
It could just be one of those moments where he just had a lapse of concentration, that maybe just driving into the pit box and the pit crew weren't ready for him. But for a 12-second transit time, it's quite an interesting one, because I don't think it's actually ever even possible to go to the pit stop into pit lane in 12 seconds.
In the box, sorry. 12 seconds in the box itself.
In the box. Yeah, okay.
In the total overall, and 12 and 11 change in the box.
Yeah, so it could just be maybe just probably a splash of fuel, I would say, on the car. Maybe he hasn't actually done a tyre change. Maybe he feels like the tyres are, still good enough as they are in the optimum temperatures. Maybe he's just going for a bit of a splash of fuel on the Ford Mustang that we can see here. Very bright orange and black distinct livery on that Ford Mustang. Jackson Austin, I've raced with the man as well on our platforms on the PlayStation platform. He is one of our Gran Turismo drivers, is now converted into the iRacing world, so it's great to see him keeping that pace that he has in the GT7 world and actually putting that to the real life in iRacing on the PC simulator. So doing a really good job there, but it looks like, as I've started to catch up on here, we've got Daniel Poulton, Tyre Delaney and Jamie Dyke, your top three, all two Camaras, the leading two Camaras and the first of the Mustangs, while we have in the silver split Hayden Cupid, who looks like he's just come into the pit lane himself right now, and then that gives that will give Jake Robillard for Everything Simulated Racing, car number 19 Ford Mustang, the lead of the race.
Just watching Cupid at the moment, this is a very, very long stop. He's been in that pit box for 30 seconds, so taking on a massive fuel load here.
Also, Damon, his teammate as well, too, just coming out now. So they both came in. The Sideways Esports have elected to box both their drivers at the same time. So that, to me, indicates a little bit of a strategy. But Hayden's still sitting in there at the moment, coming out now, actually. So just behind Damon.
39 seconds in the box. That is a lot of fuel he's taken on. At lap 27, that being his first pit stop, he must have filled the tank. He is going to just be relying on a very quick splash at some point, whether that's late in the race or whether it's under safety car. He's going to need just a little bit of a top off, assuming that Luke Speck's not giving us a bum steer here. But he is going to need a bit of a top off later on to make it to the end of this 400 Ks of Bathurst tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with these tyres, when they come into the pit lane, they're only going to be good enough to do the first few laps where the tyres are really in that optimum temperature where you're running at that consistency lap time. So what we're seeing for lap times here, the best so far we're seeing is a 2-minute 9.852 set by Daniel Poulton in the Chevrolet Camaro Car 70 Antique Motorsports entry. But we are just seeing lap times where they're starting to creep into those high 2-minute 9s, and as drivers are coming into the pit lane, they're going to really start contemplating about whether they're going to go for that 2-stop, where there's just going to be a long fuel stop in this stint right now, and then just a splash and dash and some fresh tyres to finish off and be potentially 2 seconds a lap faster, 3 seconds a lap faster than your competitor ahead. Or it's just about conserving and just keeping that fuel tank lean, and also just maybe going in for that tyre change, because I just don't think the 2-stop might be the option. It might be for some drivers, but it just depends on their overall pace.
I'm seeing the drivers down at pit road at the moment as well, so I keep my eyes on them. Jared?
Still a long way to go. Yeah, just noticing we're getting a lot of pit stops happening here. David Coleman has come in for his first, and also a very, very long stop. He's still in the box now, 40-odd seconds, 41.2 seconds as he leaves the pit box.
He's signing autographs. Oh, there we go. So, yeah, it's just finished signing an autograph. That's the reason why DC's taking a little bit longer, mate. Definitely help.
And here you go, Hayden Cupid just
he got tucked up behind. Whoa, dear little battle for pit road. He's flashing his lights in anticipation. He's not a happy camper at the moment, DC. He thought he got held up by Lipsky. Actually, Martin was exiting the pit road at the same time. So, well, that's... so fire up the barbecues, gentlemen. We may have beef for the menu.
Where have we gone? David Coleman leaving the pits.
That car looks a bit scrubby. Yeah, just have a look at Coleman. DC eggs in the pit. You get it's like Martin Lipsky for the Tulip Racing entry, if that's correct. But anyway, gets held up a little bit. There.
Oh, he does.
And he gets not a happy camper at all. He starts flashing his lights because DC's racing here. But we're seeing the leaders coming in at the moment. So Dan the man, Ty, and I'm going to keep an eye on that. And Jamie Dyke, over to you, gentlemen.
All three now into the pits.
That's one of the cars there, just scrapes the wall just up to the rise of McPhillippi there, just scraping the rear end of the car. That's as close as you want to get to that wall, just finessing that wall. Didn't lose too much pace. He actually, in theory, gained pace on the driver ahead of him in Reese Wakefield there. David Coleman, apologies there. So,
bit of a strategic nudge.
Yeah, exactly. And I think going back on that blue flag stuff it's a weird one because one of the drivers was fighting for fifth place, was actually fifth place on track, was a lap trafficked ahead of him. Was that one of the silver drivers that was actually caught up in all of that mix?
It was Martin Lipsky sitting back in 31st on track and certainly well out of the battle. I think Lipsky's probably had his eye on the relative and watching, I think it was one of the Sideways Esport drivers coming around Hell Corner, and so wanting to stay out of the way on his pit exit, but didn't realise that David Coleman was bearing down on him quite so quickly. So Coleman now needs to really think about it, because we said earlier that any more than about 3 spots of separation will actually see Delaney take the title away. As it stands right now, Ty Delaney is 5 spots ahead of Coleman.
Ty got the good jump out. He got the launch out of the pit lane entrance. He was a little bit quicker, 47-second pit stop there. He got out ahead of Danny P. But the biggest problem on that one, Jamie Dyke came out there with traffic up the road. So Danny P and Ty actually managed to clear that traffic, but didn't quite work out for Jamie Dyke. But Jamie Dyke as well too took a little bit 52-second pit stop, so a shad quicker than Danny P, but he's down the road a little bit further than what Danny P is currently running for.
This is where you start to see those slightly different strategies actually playing out as we watch Jamie Dyke pushing hard to try and catch back up to those couple of drivers he was running around with in terms of Delaney and Danny P. This is where you see the strategy really start to play in, like just those few seconds of difference in how much fuel load you're taking on. At this point in the race, lap 29 of 65, it doesn't sound like a lot at this point, but if it saves you just that extra second or two in your splash and dash later, that could be the difference between positions. Who's that? Was one of the lap drivers. Was that
there's a pile up there at Forest Elbow with 2 cars collecting each other. One goes spearing off into the tyre barriers, and the other car just follows him along. Looks like there's a timing monitor there. Could be a potential safety car call with this, because it looks like they're stuck in traffic. One car goes into the pit lane, and they're all just going down to the track. Contact made. Oh, it's just a roadblock. Great awareness by all the drivers there. They're all just pulling themselves up, staying off the racing line, just to try and let these guys go through. And wow, that was very close shaving for some of the drivers there, but looks to be all systems running. No safety car call just yet, and that was obviously deemed by the MC stewards that there was no need for the safety car call. But it was great awareness by some of the drivers, because that could literally cause a huge blockage if that was actually caught up by some more drivers.
We're just getting updates from our man with the intel in our chat, Luke Speck, saying about 290 litres or just a tad more required to make it around 400 Ks here. So yeah, it's with 130 odd litres in the tank, 133. It's definitely 2 full tanks and then just a touch more.
Yeah, well, I did get told that with these cars being at 133 litres, that's the initial starting tank, that the cars are absolutely not the best. They are quite slow. They are not strong cars, and it's just about, they are very slow at the top of the hill. You're really struggling to get the power down. You're lighting up the rear tyres. You're just getting a lot of understeer. It's just about, I guess, with the supercars in the iRacing world, and it's the 3rd generation of the Australian Touring Cars Championship, makes of the Chevrolet Camaro and the Ford Mustang, that these cars in the real world and the sim racing world are just hard cars to get the power down, because you're waiting for that initial bite to turn into the corner, and plus with a heavy fuel tank, it's a lot of patience to get these cars around this track, especially around Mount Panorama, where we're seeing lap times as the fastest set by Thomas Wilson on that previous lap at 2-minute 9.549 in 4th place, that we see him on the screen right now, really charging up through the field, taking advantage of those fresh soft tyres and just going for fresh hard tyres, and he's going for it. He's just really throwing that car to its absolute maximum to try and close up on his next rival.
I've said it over and over again, as we've seen these Gen 3 supercars all season, they are overpowered, they're under-tired, and you throw in the extra weight of a full fuel tank, and all of a sudden these drivers have to adjust on every corner. Their braking markers need to shift ever so slightly. You see Dylan Thomas just running a bit wide there into Murray's, and having to stay out of the way of Thomas Wilson on his way through. It's a really it's a really difficult thing to keep an eye on. Obviously, these drivers are only able to adjust the brake bias in these cars, so unable to adjust any of the anti-roll bar like you could in the Gen 2 Supercars. So really not a lot of adjustment available to them at all on the fly, but they've got to be aware of the changing dynamics of these cars throughout the course of a full fuel tank.
As to look down towards the silver split down here, we can see ourselves Josh Harris in the ADHD Chevrolet Camaro, which is representing the Stone Brothers look-alike liveries on the Chevrolet Camaro, followed closely behind by Jake Rabiot, who has come into the pit lane only a few laps ago. Is really starting to make the charge on Josh Harris on this lap here, putting the pressure on the ADHD racer battling for P6 as they're coming down towards Murray's Corner. For what we're about to go, we're almost halfway, gentlemen. So obviously, as this race goes on, obviously, who would you consider to be as the leading contenders of like half race distance? So we've seen our first pit stops, we've seen the first cycle of the first stint on the tyres and the fuel stint. So who do you feel like has got that optimum range? Who do you feel like has got that probably that upper edge on their rivals, or do we think we're going to see ourselves a very close finish, as Bathurst always does?
I'm going to throw this to Biggles first and see what his thoughts are before I weigh in.
Yes, sir. Asking if you're received. What would you like to know? So ask the Wikipedia of racing knowledge over here now, Mixie.
No, I just want to know, and I know you're going to leave us here in the commentary booth in just a couple of moments' time, but before you do go, I'm going to ask you to answer Spud's question first. Who's your pick for the wins here tonight? It's early, but we're halfway through. Big contact for Jake Robilliard into the wall there as it comes through Sumner Park. It is not Sumner, bloody hell. Through Solomon Park. I'm just thinking about the suburb up the road, of course. Solomon Park undoes so many of these drivers. Early on, we've seen the first pit stops.
For the gold split, I think Ty's in a strong position. He doesn't have to risk it for the biscuit too much there. He's going to be fighting with Denny P for a bit, but he knows that he's got it in the bag there. Ty Delaney. DC has got to really get the move on. So there it is. I mean, he's not got it in the bag completely over DC, David Coleman, but I think Ty will have the gold split, just to summarise the lap so we won't bore everybody with all the extra juicy details. And Hayden's looking pretty strong there. He's got to keep, Scott Stevens has a bit of work to do. I would love to, I'll be watching the stream there and go, Scotty, well, you proved me wrong, but Hayden, he's just got to get it done on track, and currently at the moment on track he's P8. So there's my picks, gentlemen.
There you go. Biggles, as you leave the booth for this evening, just a massive thank you for all of your work here with the Simple Racing broadcast team across the season. It's been a pleasure bringing the MCV8 series to life with you across these 8 weeks of racing, and mate, enjoy the rest of the stream from the comfort of your armchair. It's a well-deserved view of this race, I'm sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Jared. And thanks to all the fantastic drivers and supporters here at the MC Motorsport V8 Supercar Series. I'm going to be definitely tuning in there as I do some other stuff in the background. But good luck to the drivers, and thank you once again for allowing me to spend a bit of chin wagging up with you in the booth there. And a pleasure to meet you as well too, Nicholas.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best, Beagles, and great to know you as well. Obviously, you do a lot of work for the gold split in the MC Motorsport. Obviously, your voice and Jarrett's voice with the streaming and the commentary. You guys provide all the luxury, and you guys provide all of the fantastic moments that we've been having in this inaugural season in the MC Motorsport Supercars Championships. So your hard work doesn't go unnoticed. So thanks a lot, and tune in, have a beer or two before you go to bed, and enjoy yourself.
Dean Hopton there, signing off from commentary duties for this evening, and Nick Potassium and I will take you through to the end of this Bathurst 400. The MCV8 series yet to crown its first champions in the gold and silver split, but looking very, very close indeed. Let's take you through just how close this championship is right now. So David Coleman in the gold split ahead of tonight's race, was leading by 21 points ahead of Ty Delaney, and only 11 points back to Jamie Dyke. we'll keep our eyes very, very closely on how they stand throughout the rest of this race. In the silver split, Hayden Cupid only 10 points ahead of Scott Stevens, and then 19 points back to Jake Rebellion in third place. We were talking a little earlier, Spud, around Ryan Palmer being potentially in the running, only 26 points back from Jake Rebellion, but unfortunately, an early crash coupled with a 10-second penalty a little earlier this evening has pretty much dashed any hopes of the ADHD driver finding himself on the podium steps for the championship. It's a bit of a shame, but that is racing, isn't it?
It is a bit of a shame, and I know Ryan very well. Obviously, you're giving him too much credit, but no. No, he's a very good bloke. He loves the mountain itself. He loves driving around Mount Panorama. He comes here every single year, whether it's the voluntary marshal work and being one of the on-track officials, volunteer officials for the real-life Supercars, 6 hours. And all the events that happen around here at Mount Panorama. So anytime he can, he'll always come here. He calls his track his home. It's his backyard because he comes here most all the time, except for Sydney Motorsport Park. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame there. Like, he's just obviously with a bit of an incident in this race is getting him out of that championship contention, because I did see the points difference. It actually looked quite close there between the top four in that championship. I believe it was only 40 odd points between the top four in that championship. So it would have been very close for Ryan Palmer to actually get himself, what we usually say with him, that elusive championship victory, especially in the silver split. But unfortunately, obviously, as you're saying with that, it's a bit of a hard done by Ryan, but he's just hanging around. He's 5.5 seconds behind Seth Stevens, so he's going to be trying to get himself onto the podium just for the last dance here at Mount Panorama.
As we take a look, Ty Delaney out in the lead. You can see in the background Danny P just rounding Griffin's Bend there as Delaney makes his way up through the cutting. Just running some numbers here, as I'm going to do for pretty much the rest of the race here tonight, so we can try and predict the outcome. As it stands right now, David Coleman not looking like actually being able to hold off Ty Delaney for the championship. Obviously, it's a little way to go yet. It's probably a little bit early.
It's a long way to go, yeah.
Yeah, a little way. But at the moment, Delaney, if he finishes first, just needs David Coleman to finish in fourth or lower, I believe, will be enough. So if David Coleman can finish in fourth, he will just barely clinch the title and hang on to it. However, if Delaney does actually hold the fastest lap at the end of this race, the 2 bonus points may just be enough to get him across the line as the winner of the championship. So it is such a close thing. Right now, David Coleman sitting in 5th is going to give up his P1 in the championship to Ty Delaney. So a little bit of work to do there for Mr. Coleman. Jamie Dyke, I was just having a look at just how far back he's sitting from David Coleman. Could he potentially clinch a P2? And again, still pretty early days, but he's going to have to really pick up a lot of points. 32 points is the difference between Coleman and Dyke. So look, it's almost impossible for that to happen at this stage. The lowest that a gold split driver can finish, assuming that they do greet the checkered flag tonight and don't miss out on points, is 14th. So that'll be 136 points tonight, the winner taking 200. So there's going to have to be a lot more difference between Jamie Dyke and David Coleman before Jamie Dyke starts thinking about a second place finish. But it's still going to be down to the wire for Coleman and Delaney, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what we love here at MC. It's just, there's always something going on towards that. You never know until the end, until the checkered flag is waved between those two drivers and the teammates as well. That's amazing. So they might be in their own little voice chat and their voice comms, but they don't really. They're working. I would say probably they're going to work together until they get to about lap 64. And then when it gets to lap 65, that's when you go for it. That's when it's just like gloves off, go for it, all the best. Whoever wins the championship wins the championship. So while it might be good for Ty Delaney to take the championship, I would know for a fact that David Coleman, who's down the order in P5, is just looking and just thinking about what could be and how he can actually make this work. So he's going to be pushing that car like absolute crazy. His lap times are not really setting the world alight at the moment. The last lap was a 2 minute 10.581 compared to the likes of Ty Delaney with the 209.988. So still relatively close times between everyone. But as we see those tyres starting to fade away, and as those laps are starting to tick over as we're about to approach the end of 34, start of 35, it's just that next phase of the pit window. When do they come in? How much fuel do they put in the car? Will the undercut be a lot stronger? Because I've heard the undercut here around with these cars and on this track is pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's certainly something to be aware of. These tyres are at their absolute best for about the first 3 or 4 laps. So on fresh tyres, that is the time to get your very, very fastest laps. Now, timing that last pit stop is going to be absolutely critical. We're getting to the point where I'm going to say we're probably about 2 or 3 laps away from expecting to see the next round of pit stops beginning. And we've seen a couple here and there. Jackson Austin's made his second back in P11 on track. But by and large, most of the field has actually only made one stop at this stage. So you'd have to be thinking about the second stop coming along. You can see there on your screen right now, one stop throughout pretty well the entire field on our timing towers, with the exception of Jackson Austin. So, he's running a slightly different strategy. It might pay off for him, but a long way still to go, and probably at least one more stop for each of these drivers, and then perhaps the quickest of splash and dashes to just get them to the last bit of fuel. At this stage, you've got to be relying on a safety car almost to maximise, or rather to minimise the damage that splash and dash stop will actually do, because you're still going to be talking about probably about 45 seconds you've got to think in the pit lane.
Yeah, and that's quite a long time, because you've got to think about the entry, the holes, and then the exit. So you're looking at are you looking at about 45 seconds in total, or are we looking for a little bit more, potentially over a minute?
You're probably talking 45 seconds to a minute end to end in the pit lane. If you can manage to keep that stop, down to say 10 seconds or so.
Yeah.
You're really going to want a safety car for that to make sure it doesn't do a huge amount of damage. I noticed that Biggles has very kindly jumped immediately from our commentary booth to reminding me that we haven't seen the safety car predicted as yet. So thank you, Biggles, for keeping me aware of that one. Always appreciate it, mate. As we take a look here at Henry King now starting to chase Robbie Bradbury up to Skyline.
He looked so close going through Quarry Corner. He almost looked like he almost about to put it in the fence, and the car was understeering like crazy. He just almost gave me a little heart and mouth moment there. I was expecting a bit of an accident that was going to happen on Henry King's Team Jigs Shifters 52 Ford Mustang, but it was very close there. But going back onto the timing, and I was about to say that I feel like the championship rival protagonists in both David Coleman and Ty Delaney, they're just trading lap times. That previous lap, Ty Delaney had a 209.836, while we have David Coleman with a 2 minute 10.2. But on that previous lap, it was the other way around. David Coleman was setting faster laps than Ty Delaney, but the gap is still the same, 17 seconds. So these boys are matching each other left, right, front, and centre. All it takes is just one lapse of concentration, and that's what can happen around this 6.213 kilometre Mount Panorama circuit that we have here, located west of Sydney, 2.5 hour drive away west of Sydney. But at the same time, it's fine margins for these guys. You're just trying to get your braking points right. You're figuring out how the tyres are handling. You're trying to get the tyres in that right temperature, not overheating, and trying not to lose too much time with the understeer. And those two drivers are doing absolute wonders, and they're just throwing their cars. It was actually a real privilege to see David Coleman just really driving that car to his absolute limit to really get that lap time over his competitor.
He's got to be careful though, because he needs to make it to the end for a start, and he definitely needs to move up one more spot here from that 5th position to really cement the championship win. He's had a phenomenal run coming into this final round. I believe that in the conversation last night, the top 10 shootout with Aidan Cale, covered here on Super Racing Broadcasts, of course, I think we figured out he's won something like 4 of the last 5 races. So he's on an absolute blind overdrive. That said, this is Bathurst. Ty Delaney, Jamie Dyke, David Coleman all will have put in hundreds, if not thousands of laps around this track before. So very, very familiar with it. It's going to be very hard to separate them as drivers in terms of the results we see here tonight. And so, yeah, it's going to be right down to, I think, the last of these 65 laps to determine who our championship winner is going to be, or our season winner at the very least, here in the gold split and also the silver split. Right now, Hayden Cupid continues to extend his lead over Scott Stevens, and Stevens really needs for something to change for him to take that title. There's only 10 points in it in the silver split, but Stevens is going to have to finish at least a couple of spots ahead of Hayden Cupid if he does want to take that number 1 spot at the end of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see as well, Scott Stevens down in P2 in the silver split is actually gained 10 positions from his starting position. So he's actually making the hard charges after that first round of pit stops, that he's actually put on the extra mileage, and he's only about, I believe that's about 11 seconds, I believe that's behind Hayden Cupid.
Scott Stevens, from what I'm seeing here, about 21 seconds back.
21 seconds,
Cupid.
okay.
Yeah, so still quite away, unfortunately. But
yeah,
you know, there's work to be done, and there's still 27 or thereabout laps. Luke Speck saying that probably about the earliest you can refuel and expect to make it home is this lap right now, lap 38. So it will be interesting to see whether these drivers can make it through a few more laps and just guarantee themselves enough fuel to make it to the end. And of course, the longer they can stay out there with the fuel in the tank right now, the less time they're going to have to spend refueling for the final run here through to the end of lap 65 tonight. Josh Harris and Reece Wakefield side by side up Mountain Straight. You could barely fit the credit card between them there. Harris maintains the inside line. These guys not even battling in the same split right now, but Harris on some slightly fresher tyres. Actually, no, Reece Wakefield, sorry, on the fresher tyres. Harris hasn't pitted since lap 22, Wakefield on 29, so Harris just had the pace there and also the inside line. Wakefield probably making the right call to just back out of that one and give Harris some room, because he was intent on pushing through there no matter what. As we see, Wakefield goes sideways, loses it.
Oh, so just the dirty air. So he got a bit of an error wash from the back end of Josh Harris's 88 Chevrolet Camaro and just caught the rear snap on them, and it looks like he's gone into the pit lanes. It looks like he's been taking a tow there. That's so unfortunate for Reece Wakefield, who was coming through the field on fresh tyres, gets caught up in lap traffic as well, and it just seemed to be like a lapse of concentration. It's just a bit of an error wash coming from the back end of Josh Harris's Camaro. It just pretty hampered Reece Wakefield's 969 Ford Mustang, and just sent him sideways up towards Quarry Corner. It was absolutely a huge moment there for Reece Wakefield, and it's a shame there because he was doing so well to try and apply the pressure. Obviously, lap traffic was involved at the same time, so you're trying to pass your competitors, but you also have to think as well, Josh Harris is in the fight for some good positions in this Reps as well. So very unfortunate for him, but at the same time.
It's probably worth noting, you know, Josh Harris on the lead lap with Reece Wakefield there, but Wakefield in the gold split, as we see Luke Newing smack the wall on the way up for the cutting. Josh Harris in the silver split, so neither of those drivers had anything to gain from battling with each other, apart from perhaps a little bit of pride. As we see Ryan Smith in the background, Luke Newing smacks the left-hand side of his sideways eSport Camaro, and then Ryan Smith says, anything you can do, I can do better, smacks the right-hand side of his Mustang and says, thank you very much. These guys work as a team.
Keeps it on the track, keeps it in one piece though.
Well, look, giving the mechanics a bit of experience working both sides of the cars, I suppose.
Absolutely. But yeah, just going back on that, it's just very unlucky there for Reece Wakefield. And yeah, Josh, there was definitely nothing involved on his end there, just holding his line and holding in the right position. So it's good to see some hard racing and just one cracked under the pressure. And unfortunately, that was Reece Wakefield, who had to get a tow back into the pit lane, who's still sitting in the pit lane getting that car repaired.
I suspect it'll be quite a while before he's actually in the pit box at the moment. You'd think that the tow time from just after the cutting is going to be about 2.5 minutes before he even gets into the box. So unfortunately, Reece Wakefield going to drop a long way down the field, and that is pretty well his night done. As we see Newing and Smith, Newing trying everything he can to convince Ryan Smith that he's about to head into the pits there, goes very, very far left, but unfortunately can't convince him and has to come back across as they come to Murray's Corner. Down to Hell Corner, Ryan Smith remains within a half second of his teammate. And away we go again. Oh, big moment. That's the Newing into the wall. Huge damage. The front end of that car. I think, look, he's lucky to have kept it all in one piece. And spins it again, trying to get going. The grass. There's some serious damage of that car. Let's see what happens here, because this may bring on a safety car if he can't get that car rolling again.
We could be seeing our first safety car here in this Bathurst 400, ladies and gentlemen, for the MC Motorsports round 8 of the MC Motorsports Supercars Championship. We're here with the big Luke Newick dropping it at Hell Corner, just trundling it back into the pit lane. So it looks like there's no safety car just yet, but there's some bits of the bodywork flying off there. So drivers are being warned to beware of the body parts flying off that car, but that car is so negative camber down on that car. You can't get the car to be turned in properly. But I'll tell you what, without a front splitter, he's actually doing all right there to getting it back into the pit lane. So yeah, it's a weight reduction that's actually helped. Some sort of mechanics is just magically wizardry. It's probably like a Harry Potter sequence where he's just come throw the wand on it and just fix the car up, throw some take some weight off it, and he seems to be hating his apexes here. So I just wonder, are we looking at the right car, Joe? Do we think it was the other car with the Ford Mustang from the same team?
Who knows? Look, it does appear that whatever the damage to that car, it's not stopped him from having control. I was really worried for a moment there as he spun it again, trying to get it moving. A bit of impact on the front right on the way down from the cutting. But I think he was just perhaps a little too eager to get spun around and heading in the right direction, and ended up looping it again. It's so easy to do on the grass in these cars. So much torque, so much power. And around they go. Caplet Motorsport, Simon Caplet in the chat. Luke Speck's got you covered though. Absolutely. Hayden Cupid is on track to win the silver split at this point in time. Keep your eye on Scott Stevens though. If Scott Stevens can finish more or less 2 spots ahead of Hayden Cupid, possibly even 3 or 4 spots required if they do both finish further back in the field, but I will keep you updated on the points there. If Scott Stevens was to finish first this evening, then Hayden Cupid, as long as he finishes second, will retain his championship standing and will take out the silver split as we see Luke Newing head into the pits.
I'll tell you what, he's done a fantastic job getting that car back into the pit lane. He looked a little bit hairy going in. It did look a little bit hairy going to the chase. He had the rears locked going into the chase. But he managed to get it back into the pit lane. Nicely well managed there by Luke Newick. But yeah, it's just a shame that he's dropped so many positions there. And he's going to be a long time into the pit lane trying to repair that front splitter. Also getting a new fresh set of tyres and a full tank of fuel just to finish off that last stint. So, but that's like 2 major incidents in the last 2-3 laps here, Jared. So I wonder if now fatigue is starting to kick in amongst the drivers. There's a lot of laps around here. We've just gone over, we're about to just hit 41 laps right now with Ty Delaney about to cross the line to commence lap 41. So this is what we normally see, that when the Supercars Championship in the real world actually comes to the Bathurst 500, they split it up by 250 kilometres. So over 250 kilometres now that they've actually run. And I wonder if the drivers are starting to get fatigued, because there's a lot of racing to go here. There's over 15 laps, just 15 laps to go till the end of this race. So it's not over yet for our drivers here, but at the same time, that fatigue and mental stress of trying to maintain these cars is going to start kicking in, and we're going to see potentially some big names fall down the order.
Absolutely. We're talking just over 90 minutes of racing, or just about right on 90 minutes of racing at this stage. And, you think about some of the iRacing official events that are out there, 2-hour solo events and 3 or 4 hour solo events. But those ones, you generally approach them a little bit differently in terms of your strategy. You're not going full pace. These guys have been at absolute full noise for the entirety of that 90 minutes. You're still seeing lap times in the 209s, 210s, which on a track that's at 46 degrees or thereabouts, and we'll check back in with the weather shortly because we've seen a bit of cloud cover coming over. It might be granting them a touch of relief out there on those tyres, but these guys have been going at full race pace. They're not going endurance pace. A big slide there from Henry King as he tries to get the power down coming out of Murray's. At full race pace for 90 minutes, that is tough. That is a lot of work, and it requires a lot of concentration. Not to reduce, of course, the physical effort required from some of the sim rigs that these guys are racing on. You're talking a lot of feedback through the wheel, potentially a fair bit of feedback in terms of haptics or motion rigs or whatever these guys might be running. It does take a physical toll as well. You start to get tired. Look, it probably doesn't compare at all to the real world, sure. But as far as sim racing goes, it's pretty full on, and certainly a race of this distance, you'd often be talking about a driver change at some point here.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that it's because I did get had some private conversations with both Ryan Palmer and Josh Harris. That they're going for about that 400-kilometre Bathurst race with no driver changes. So when you're starting to do more than 250 kilometres, yeah, as you said, you're looking to doing that driver change with a fellow partner of yours, with a fellow co-driver. But they said it's 400 kilometres, no driver change, heavy fuel tank, brake bias only setups with this car. Very unstable through the top of the mountain and the bottom of the hill, and they just said it's just going to be 65 laps of hell. And all I can say there is that so far Josh Harris and Ryan Palmer are still going. They're still going strong. Palmer is just behind his good mate in Harris in both the ADHD Racing Chevrolet Camaros, but they are feeling the effects. They did warn me at events that it's going to be quite chaotic here, especially with just the solo drives.
Absolutely. You can see the latest update from the weather. The air temp stayed about the same, still 27 degrees, but the track temp's finally starting to come down with this bit of cloud cover. Down 5 degrees, 6 degrees since we started this race, so down 41 degrees on the track. Won't make a huge difference, but it will certainly be noticeable to the drivers that they're running on a slightly cooler track. The tyres are going to last just that little bit longer, have just a touch more grip than they have had previously, and so that's going to play into the strategy here as they start to think about second pit stops. We are getting well past the lap 38 mark that Luke Speck mentioned earlier. We're getting to lap 43. At this point, these drivers have got to start thinking about whether they bite the bullet and make that second stop, or ride it out as long as they possibly can and continue to reduce the fuel load they're going to need to take on in that second stop, and hopefully pick themselves up just a bit of time for an undercut or overcut, depending on where they're sitting, and see what it can deliver in the closing stages of this race. Just over 20 laps to go. There's definitely going to be another pit stop here. All it's going to take is a safety car, and it's going to change the game completely. So that's one to watch out for as well. I'm still trying to manifest that here tonight, Nick. It's not happened so far.
It is Bathurst, but we do have to remember when I actually first went to the track myself in 2023, and it was the first time the Gen3 Chevrolet Camaros and Ford Mustangs were running around Mount Panorama, that there was a whole moment throughout the whole race where there was only one safety car, and then it breeded another safety car, and then towards the end of the race it was only 61 laps of just pure hard racing, no mistakes, no driver errors, just everyone going 110% throughout the whole 6.213 kilometer circuit. That nobody was ready to blink an eye, because they were just so focused on getting their braking markers right, getting the turn-ins, really understanding how the cars work. And I feel for these drivers as well. No safety cars, yes. It kind of reminds me of 2023 towards the end of the Bathurst 1000 itself, because these drivers are doing so well, but obviously trying to breed a safety car. I mean, you could throw a bit of a joker in there, but I don't think it's very professional. That would be professional enough for the MC Motorsports. Maybe for a fun leg, you could just throw in a wild card,
just a random
safety car. Yeah, exactly. Why not? Just throw in a random full course yellow and just and go for it. But I would say like everyone's doing so well. I'm really enjoying this battle that we're having here. The battle for P11 between Robbie Bradbury and Henry King. The Henry King's really pushing that car as much as he can, just losing ever so much time a little bit. So I feel like he's just kind of throwing the car a little bit too much. compared to Robbie Bradbury, who's actually looking after his tyres just that little bit better, just getting some better traction over his competitor down in 12th place.
As they make their way up Mountain Straight into Griffin's Bend, once again, we've been keeping our eye on this one because this has extended over a number of laps now. Neither driver seeming to make much headway. While that's been going on, though, just keeping an eye on some of the gaps. Ty Delaney out in front continues to expand his gap over Danny P in second. Then, of course, you've got Thomas Wilson, Jamie Dyke, and David Coleman behind there. Just keep your eye on David Coleman's interval there, though. He's slowly but surely chipping away at Jamie Dyke. And I've got to think that Coleman knows what he needs to get done here to retain the win. He's going to have to make a pass on Jamie Dyke at some point. But he's got to reel in almost 4 seconds of gap at the moment.
It is
209.552.
Yeah, he's gaining up to such absolutely. That's nearly 5 tenths faster than his teammate in the Ford Mustang and Jamie Dyke. So he's actually closing up a lot of it. And I will say that the gaps have been closing between them two. I was trying to keep my eyes on both him and Ty Delaney, thinking about that championship predicament. But as you said earlier, that David Coleman is looking for that P4, and that's what's gonna seal him a potential championship victory if he manages to keep hold of this pace. But 209.553, would that suggest that he's actually come into the pit lane recently? Because it looks like he's on fresh. Because it looks like that looks to be kind of pace that you would be on. That would look to be the pace that you'd be sitting on a fresh set of tyres. But I think what I'm seeing is that
lap 27.
Yeah, so lap 27 was the last time he came into the pit lane, but 18.7 behind Ty Delaney. I wonder if he's done a really good job here in actually saving his tyres and really just going for that long haul, going for that long stint, and just chipping away. The times are going down. It was about the low 2-minute 10s, high 2-minute 9s throughout the whole last few laps for David Coleman. But now he's finding time. It was a 209.6, and then now this lap's a 209.5. So he's slowly chipping away, closing the gap to Jamie Dyke. He's actually closed a little bit more on this lap, so it's about 3.7 between himself and Jamie Dyke. So watch this space for David Coleman to put on a charge here, and also be getting himself a potential undercut. He could actually throw himself a wild card here, throwing an undercut on Jamie Dyke.
He's got to have done the math. David Coleman is a clever cookie. He's absolutely got strategy at play here, despite what he's tried to tell us on a couple of interviews so far this season. But he's absolutely reeling in Jamie Dyke down to 3.5 seconds gap now. You can see Jamie Dyke just up the road as he rounds each of these corners. And David Coleman will be thinking about cementing that 4th place, which of course tonight would mean that Ty Delaney would only be able to pick up 18 points of the 21 that he needs to level with David Coleman in the championship fight. So that'd be enough, even with the 2 points for fastest lap. And look, I almost want it to happen, honestly, Nick. I would love to see Ty Delaney. I'd love to see Ty Delaney win. I'd love to see David Coleman finish in 4th, and I'd love to see Ty Delaney take the fastest lap of the night, because that would mean a 1-point difference at the end of the season, with David Coleman just barely holding on to it. So we see Jamie Dykes hit the wall in the cutting. That gap all of a sudden falls away down to 2 seconds. David Coleman gets a bonus there. It's not been much, but it's been just enough for him to start to really catch up to Dyke. So Dyke just losing focus for the slightest of moments, and now Coleman has him firmly in the sights. There's Jamie Dyke up ahead, the green Fishy Motorsports entry, as will be carrying a little bit of damage there. Not a huge amount, but just enough that he's got to be thinking about whether he's ready for some fresh tyres, where within 20 laps from the end, every extra lap that these drivers can put in is 1 less second of fuel that these guys need to load up to make it to the end. We're starting to see a couple of second pit stops happening now. Seth Stevens is in right now, making his second. We've seen Jackson Austin make his. Damon McDonald has made his second stop. Further down, we've got Greg Patrick, Reese Wakefield. Reese Wakefield is effectively out of it here. 16.5 minutes he's been working on repairs to that car. So unfortunately had already used his fast repair by the look of it. He is done for the night, which is a real shame for Reese, but again, that is one of the things in racing, particularly at Bathurst. When you hit the wall here, it tends to be
Thomas
pretty
Wilson
hard.
has now just entered the pit lane, and Jamie Dyke, that gap between Jamie Dyke and David Coleman has been closing rapidly. It's now 1.5 seconds. So the gap that was over 3 seconds at the commencing of this lap, now starting at the commencing of 45. Now we get to 46. It's now dropped down to 1.4 seconds between David Coleman and Jamie Dyke. So you might be right there. He might be carrying a little bit of damage on that Ford Mustang. Maybe just gave the fence just a little rub there, that the suspension might be a little bit off. Maybe the car is pointing in a negative camber and pointing in the wrong direction of that Ford Mustang. But the Camaro in David Coleman is closing really fast. Thomas Wilson has come into the pit lane, so he'll be one of the drivers. Runs wide at Griffin's Bend there, so that's the first sign there of the car being not up to scratch for Jamie Dyke here, as he comes back to the same spot. Almost gets the car hooked into the corner very nicely there, just unlike his last lap, but we can see, and David Coleman can see, that Jamie Dyke is struggling big time as he just flirts with the wall at Quarry Corner as he comes towards Solomon and Reed Park, comes through Reed Park and then through Solomon up to the rise of McPhillamy, past McPhillamy, waving to the crowd as the crowd cheers for the MC Motorsport Supercar Series that is about to conclude its inaugural season here in 2025. Down Brocky Skyline, through the S's and into the dipper they go. Jamie Dyke is still holding on. He's still trying to get that gap, but the gap is under a second there, and David Coleman can see as they go through to Forest Elbow on 46. David Coleman, all he needs to do is try and stick with him, try and stay within that slipstream, but the gap has just opened up to a second now. But this is where the Camaro is going to have a little bit more advantage because of the car in the Mustang is really down on the steering and down on pace on the straights. David Coleman is really going to pluck through those gears in that 650 plus horsepower Chevrolet Camaro, flying down Conroe Straight into Skyline and through to the chase here. We have David Dyke, Jamie Dyke in third place. Looks like he might be coming to the pit lane. He's staying hard left. No, he doesn't. He's going to stay out for another lap. And so does David Coleman.
Just bait David Coleman into making that pit stop. It's you've got to wonder how much fuel these guys are running on at the moment. It's got to be getting close to time for them to make a pit stop. I've been looking really closely here at Jamie Dyke's car to try and see any visual signs of damage that he might have sustained there. It doesn't look like there's much, but it's definitely had an impact on the pace. Have a look at this. David Coleman just reeling him in. It's not tenths at a time, but it's hundredths at a time through every single corner. Coleman absolutely flying. We know that these tyres do take on almost a second wind after they seem to have gone. They seem to grip up again. But these tyres on both these cars are looking fairly old at this point. Coleman got his on lap 27, Jamie Dyke on lap 28. So both on 20 lap old tyres. It's getting to the point where they're going to feel very, very happy to get a fresh set under them. But not just yet. David Coleman's going to be looking for the pass down Conroe this time around.
Oh, flirting through Reed Park goes Jamie Dyke. Wow, that's as close as you want to get towards Reed Park on the Exeter Quarry. That is so tight there between the two drivers there. But yeah, David Coleman can see that Jamie Dyke is really struggling with that car. He has seen that mistake 3 laps ago, and now he's right up on that rear bumper of his teammate in the Fishy Motorsports Ford Mustang. But I'm actually very keen to see on that pit stop, like you said, but because the pit stop from the first transit, Jamie Dyke was in the pit bay for 52 seconds while David Coleman was in for 41 seconds. So I wonder if there's a bit of a different strategy on the fuel numbers. So maybe David Coleman has to potentially make the move on Jamie Dyke and actually stretch his margins so that way he can get himself a nice buffer at the end of this stint, or coming into the second stint. Because if that's the case, then I feel like Jamie Dyke has got an upper hand, potentially putting less fuel in the Mustang compared to what the Camaro can do on this next stint. But he's really trying to flirt with Jamie Dyke and looking up to size and move very soon. Who's the first one to blink? It is David Coleman. So I think this is the right move for the championship leader in the car 640. So this will be his last stop, and he will be looking to try and use this last stint to try and take the championship victory away from Ty Delaney, who has been faultless and from the start of this race in car 887 and the Fishy Motorsports Chevrolet Camaro, setting the fastest lap of the 2:09.276. So that'll get him a couple of points. So if things stay as they are, it'll be David Coleman by just one single point. So it's all up to David Coleman, because Ty Delaney can do only what he can do, is stay in front, keep the fastest lap, and win the race.
Here come all of the pit stops now. We were just watching Ryan Smith, because this would have been the key one for David Coleman to stay ahead. But Thomas Wilson now is really who David Coleman wants to stay ahead of. But David Coleman's still in the pits taking on fuel, so he's loading up. He's just coming out of the pit now. So David Coleman is going to have to put the effort in to catch Thomas Wilson. Thomas Wilson made his stop just a few laps ago. There's Coleman leaving the pits in the background. So Thomas Wilson, now almost 7 seconds ahead of Coleman, is on the run to the finish with his pit stop. David Coleman's going to have to make the most of these fresh tyres, because he needs P4 back. Now, in saying that, Ty Delaney, Danny P, Jamie Dyke, all yet to make their second stop. As it stands right now, Ty Delaney, look, probably, let's call it 65, so a minute and 5 seconds up the road from Thomas Wilson. There's a real chance that if Delaney goes into the pits now, he's going to come out pretty well right in front of David Coleman, and that would be devastating to Delaney's hopes of winning this championship. He's going to have to really think about when he pits at this moment, because if in the next 15 laps we see a safety car, then you have to think Delaney's done.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what Ty Delaney doesn't want. But also you got to think as David Coleman, because he's just come into the pit lane, that a safety car could actually ruin that strategy for him as well, because they could be saving more fuel. The top three that are yet to come into the pit lane, they'll be able to save more fuel and put less fuel in the car in the pit lane, that when it comes to the safety car period, they can actually stay out a lot. They can actually stay less time in the pit lane and save more on the track. So it'll be very interesting to see, but it's good to see that there's still competitive lap times though. 2:09.7 on the previous lap by Ty Delaney. Danny Poulton right behind a 2:09.8, followed by Jamie Dyke with a 2:10.8. So I feel how things are at the moment with the top three, I feel like Jamie Dyke is probably going to be worst off, because we did see him make that contact up at the cutting. So, and David Coleman was really catching him. So I feel that Jamie Dyke is out of it, because if he's going to fix the car up as well in the pit lane, that puts him out of contention, and that'll give David Coleman that needed position in P4.
He's going to have to hope he's still got a fast repair up his sleeve, and I think Jamie Dyke should. We haven't seen any damage for him, so that's only going to add a few seconds. The question will be when he comes in for that stop. Right now, Coleman's just got to be looking ahead, knowing that the front three need to make a stop. He's really only going to have to come out ahead of Jamie Dyke, and that'll be good enough to keep him in P4 and keep this championship in his hands. Right now, Hayden Cupid looks almost unbeatable. Cupid has made his second stop on lap 48, so the only one likely to challenge him, Scott Stevens, unfortunately, made his pit stop on the same. Made his pit stop on the same lap, but Stevens starting so much further back in the grid tonight has really hurt any opportunity for him to challenge Cupid for the championship win. Short of Cupid having a major accident, and I'm going to feel so bad if I've just cursed him with it. But short of that happening, this Silver Split championship is absolutely in Hayden's hands.
Yeah, exactly, and he's done a very good job there. Just has led from the start, starting pole position in the Silver Split, and it's all up to Scott Stevens, who of course actually gained 10 positions. So he'll have to pass both Mitch Curry and Jacob Robillard, who are yet to come into the pit lane. But if he comes up and finishes P2, look, I don't think it'll be disappointing that he's lost the championship in the way that he's lost it, but starting from down the order. But I feel like he can be happy as well that he has actually made that progression from making 10 positions gains in this 400-kilometre race. So there's a lot to learn.
Huge drive.
Yeah. Absolutely. So there's a lot of praise. As much as it is a downer, losing the championship just the way as it could be, but also at the same time, you actually gaining so much time on your competitors and making overtakes here at Mount Panorama. That's saying something. And for Scott Stevens, I take my hat off to him, and he's going to seal. If he seals P2 in this race on the podium for Silver Split, I'll be quite happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, at this point, short of actually, we might have to do some numbers on that because Jake Rebellion. No, Jake's still got to make his second stop. So although he's ahead of Scott Stevens right now, with that pit stop, that's gonna put him back behind Stevens, and I don't imagine that he can finish far enough ahead to steal second spot away from Stevens. So really, at this stage in the Silver Split, it looks like we have our championship sealed as long as Cupid, Stevens, and Rebellion all just maintain a steady pace from here on. Mitch Curry going into the pits in the background. Ryan Smith continues to try and chase down Jackson Austin in the gold split here. The battle for 8th continues. Further up, we are keeping our eyes though on David Coleman as he slowly but surely tries to bring Thomas Wilson in. He cut almost a second out of the time. Ty Delaney is into the pits. Ty Delaney is in. This is going to be really telling. Danny P coming in behind him. Does Jamie Dyke come into the pits now, knowing that the two ahead of him have just come in? Let's keep an eye on it. You'd have to think he's considering it at this point. Lap 52. Biggles now hoping for a safety car. Well, Dyke is staying out. Jamie Dyke stays out. So this could be, as you said earlier, Spud, the lap 28 refill where he spent a bit of extra time there in the pit box. That could have brought him just enough fuel that he's got the ability to stay out for another couple of laps. I'd have to do some numbers here, but he's going to need 32 points to overtake Coleman. He's only 11 points behind Ty Delaney at this point. So I'll be doing some numbers as we get close to the end to see if it's going to be enough for Jamie Dyke to perhaps steal second as he makes his way past Ryan Palmer through Griffin's Bend. Palmer ends up in the marbles and just keeps it pointing in the right direction. So Ty Delaney is back on track. That was a very fast stop, only 28 seconds, so really just a splash of fuel compared to the last one. But that means David Coleman is only 2 spots behind Delaney, and so you've got to think at this stage that Coleman's got the championship wrapped up.
But hang on 1 second here. I've just seen something here that has Daniel Poulton has actually jumped Ty Delaney in the pit lane. So I can just see here the one time is 20 seconds in the pit lane compared to 28.3, and it's a very fast pit stop. So the lead has changed now, and this has gone from bad to worse for Ty Delaney, who was looking to try and get the victory here tonight, and only hope for David Coleman to finish down the order. But this is now completely swing in the wrong direction for the 877 in the Fishy Motorsports Chevrolet Camaro and Ty Delaney. So he's now behind Daniel Poulton, who has come into the pit lane, and he's at the same time as Ty Delaney. This is crazy. This is absolutely madness that we've seen an undercut in the pit lane happen, and it's gone in the way of Daniel Poulton. This is absolutely fantastic what we've seen in the pit lane.
I'm looking at Jamie Dyke right now. I cannot see how he possibly got the fuel to make it to the end after refilling on lap 28. He's got to come in, and we'll see if he does. He's not going another lap.
No.
If he is fuel saving hard enough here, if he finishes in first without pitting again right now, well, actually, regardless, right? If he can finish in first and Danny P can hold off Ty Delaney, Jamie Dyke's actually going to leap ahead of Ty Delaney if Delaney doesn't get the fastest lap bonus points. So Jamie Dyke right now, 2 spots ahead of Ty Delaney, could steal second in the championship. It's going to be a big ask because he's got to have another stop. He's got to have another stop.
It surely has to have another stop. I can't see the car making it to. If he's made it to lap 28 on the tank of fuel, whether that's a full tank of fuel and then running it to the brim of the fuel tank.
It's still too far, surely.
You're getting to about lap 56, and then you have another 10 laps to go to manage fuel. And managing fuel, the last lap was a 2-minute 10.5, where you're looking at the likes of Daniel Coleman, who set it to 11.9, but he was overtaking a couple of cars and overcoming lap traffic. but still, with the drivers on better tyres and the fastest lap already going to Ty Delaney on 209.276. I just don't see it. And we have to remember as well, he's got damage to his car. He's still carrying damage from the cutting that he sustained only about 10 laps ago.
I'm not sure what's happened, but it looks as though Thomas Wilson has just left the server. So he dropped down there. I'm not sure what's happened, but it looks as though let's go back and take a look at the pass. I'm just wondering if there's contact here or what's happened. David Coleman coming past Thomas Wilson. Wilson's definitely got some damage to the front
around the outside.
There.
Wow, that's so close.
That was a pass. It was definitely a pass.
That was a pass.
But Thomas Wilson, I don't know if he's just hit some damage there, but he's started to drop right back, and David Coleman continues on his merry way. So, look, I don't know what's happened there. There's something we've missed, I'm sure.
There's maybe a potential mechanical failure, disconnects in the
Jamie Dyke is in the
lobby.
pits. Jamie Dyke is into the pits now, so keep your eye.
There you go.
There's Danny P, there's Ty Delaney. Jamie Dyke cannot possibly get out of the pits quickly enough to come out ahead of Ty Delaney, much less challenge these guys for one of the top spots, I'm sure. There's Jamie Dyke just arriving in his pit lane now.
He's just pulled into the pit lane, yeah.
He
there
goes
you go.
Ty Delaney at 208.664, so there's that fastest lap that he was needing. That is absolutely hammering on those new tyres. He's feeling confident at this point, but David Coleman is right on his tail, just about to complete the lap now, so he will end up coming, well, it's going to be close actually. I think Jamie Dyke might come out ahead of him still, and he has. Jamie Dyke's made it out of the pits, only a 20-second stop, so Dyke, he's taken very, very little fuel and only needs enough to get through about 11 more laps here. He's taken some tyres, I would think, but
you would like to think so, yeah.
Yeah, Jamie Dyke is out ahead of David Coleman, which is, look, neither here nor there for the championship standings. He's not going to get far enough ahead, again, barring any major incidents. He's not going to get far enough ahead here to challenge for the top spot. But we've got to keep an eye on Ty Delaney right now, because Delaney's going to need to finish first, and he's going to need Coleman to drop back to fifth if he wants to catch this championship. It is down to the wire, but David Coleman, with every lap, gets closer and closer to having his hand on the trophy.
Absolutely. So just got under 12 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen, for the MC Motorsport Supercars Championship. I hope you're enjoying the coverage, the broadcast here. If you're liking what you see, click the like button and subscribe to the channel, where you're going to see all of the action of the MC Motorsport's future events in 2025. If you feel like you want to get yourself involved in the iRacing world here at MC Motorsports, jump in their Discord, jump into their server, meet some great people, get along, have some great banters, and set yourself up for the next series that are coming along. The team at MC Motorsports are really putting in the hard efforts to making 2025 its best year yet in its inaugural seasons, and it's kicking off with the inaugural championship here in the Supercars. It's incredible to see that we've got two classes running at the same time, with Hayden Cupid leading Silver Split ahead of Scott Stevens, who has now jumped up into P2, and Seth Stevens in the third place, Mitch Curry P4, Jake Robillard rounding up the top five. But looking like potentially that Hayden Cupid is going to be sealing that championship with now a question of a doubt. And then into the gold split, we have Denny Bolton, who has jumped Ty Delaney in the pit lane, but is on the charge with fast laps there. He's just taken a 10th out of Daniel Bolton on that previous lap. It's now 1.3 separating those two drivers, and Jamie Dyke has jumped David Coleman in third place. I wonder if he's actually fixed that damage on the car. I wonder if he had a fast repair, as you said, up his sleeve there, so potentially he must have been able to fix that car up. And then David Coleman, the championship leader, all he needs is to stay in P4 and not drop down behind Damon McDonald to wrap up this championship. It's 22 seconds separating David Coleman and Damon McDonald. So it looks to be a hand and a half on the trophy here, Jared, but it is Bathurst, and it's only 12 laps to go until the end of this race, so anything can happen, and there's 2-minute 8-point lap.
As it stands right now, I'm pretty sure Ty Delaney is holding the fastest lap. If Delaney can take P1, I know I said this earlier, it's going to make for some great numbers at the end, but if Delaney can take P1 and retain that fastest lap, David Coleman finishing in 4th will be enough to win the championship by a single point. There is nothing in this evening as we continue to watch Henry King and Robbie Bradbury. These guys have been battling it out all race.
I was going to say, yes, I haven't seen these two separated. They must have just come into the pit lane at the same time, exited the pit lane at the same time. These guys, this is just fantastic. It just reminds me of the 2013 championship, Bathurst 1000 conclusion between Winterbottom and Jamie Whincup, just basically staying within that, under that second for over 20 laps. And these guys have been doing it since the beginning of the race. It's absolutely incredible what these guys have been able to achieve. So hopefully to see Henry King finally make the move on Robbie Bradbury to get himself inside the top 10 in gold split. But these guys are just, full credit to them, just not losing a lapse of concentration, even for Robbie Bradbury. Withstanding the pressure from Henry King is incredible, and it's a great privilege to see those two really keeping their focus on around this track.
I've said it before, it's actually not given enough credit, the ability of a good defensive driver to be able to defend from someone attacking. You know, Bathurst is one of those places where you can really frustrate a driver behind you if you defend well. But Conrad Straight, always tough. If you nail Forest Elbow, you might just be able to hold on to it. But when you've got someone right on your tail here like Henry King, Robbie Bradbury's going to have to think about what sort of line he takes down Conrad Straight to try and retain that 10th position. Let's see how he goes out of the exit of Forest Elbow. Bradbury not getting much of a boost over Henry King. And King starts to slowly but surely wind that gap down. A half second though at the start of Conrad Straight is very, very hard to overcome by the end, as these drivers put the foot flat to the floor, hitting about 280 kilometres an hour as they make their way down into the chase. And Bradbury on the brakes, Henry King on the brakes, actually probably a little earlier than he needed to, but starts to close the gap up, and they're going to go at it once again.
Yeah, these guys are going to be battling it out right till the end of lap 65, and even after the checkered flag, they'll probably still be battling it out because they're just having so much fun duking it out between two good mates there, Robbie Bradbury and Henry King. So it's great to see those two having a good fight for the battle for P10. But looking back towards the front there between Daniel Bolton and Di Delaney, it's about just over a second now, so 1 point, just over a second, which has now become under a second. The gaps keep fluctuating between these two drivers. It's incredible to see what the top two can do. But looking down towards the order here, we have Jackson Austin, who's actually jumped ahead of Ryan Smith, and he's up into P7 ahead for the J-Tit Racing Oz Ford Mustang, ahead of Ryan Smith Sideways Esports Car 60 Ryan Smith in that VRS sponsored Sideways Esport Mustang. So it's great to see them battling just up and down the field there. We're just looking at our timing monitors. There's so much going on. We can look up the top, we can look in the mid-pack, we can even look down the gold split. We can see Jake Robiard in position 5 in this gold split, putting some pressure on Mitch Curry for the last 11 laps here at Mount Panorama, for the last 10 laps here at Mount Panorama. It's great to see, and this is the last 10 laps of the championship in season 2025. So this is a finale for the ages here, Jared. And it's great to see some close battles here as we see Ryan Smith less 0.15 behind Jackson Austin, looking to go to the inside of the chase. It's very tight to be able to do that. You have to be brave to pull it off. Jackson Austin goes defensive, puts it back onto the racing line, and just compromises his entry there just a slight touch, which might give Ryan Smith an opportunity to try and throw the car down the inside of Murray's as he goes in to start lap 56, stays behind Jackson Austin, and just lives to fight another day. It's so close to see those guys going at it that anything can happen. One slight mistake there, one good exit out of the corners, and especially an exit here out of Hell Corner will definitely set you up for the rest of the lap.
Absolutely it will. Keep your eye on that timing tower though. Up front, Danny P slowly but surely losing time to Ty Delaney. It's not much, but Delaney is very, very cautiously reeling him in, even though Delaney did actually end up about a 10th back in the last lap from Danny P. It's now starting to come down. Let's take a look at this. And this is why Daniel Poulton just starting to catch up to some of the back markers on the lead lap in Mitch Curry and Jake Rebellion. So this is going to be interesting to see just how much of a battle Danny P has to make the pass here. And all it's going to do is help Ty Delaney close that gap even further. Down to 8.5 tenths at the moment.
He's taking some time off him as well. 209.5 versus a 209.2.
Just a few tenths at a lap. It's on for young and old here. Ty Delaney's got his eyes on the win here tonight in the Bathurst 400. And even though he probably, at this stage, won't get the championship, it's going to be very, very close at the end of the day. We'll take a look back to Ryan Smith now, continuing that battle with Jackson Austin, because they are just about to hit Conrod Straight once again. And they are much closer together this time. Only 2 tenths.
This is incredible to see. They've got the same gap. It looks like it's a much better run here for Ryan Smith. He's now underneath the rear wing of Jackson Austin's car, 41. Can he get the car to go onto the inside? Can he get the side draft working? No, he can't. He shows the nose, but he's not able to make the move there. Jackson Austin goes defensive, late on the brakes, goes the 41, but we have Ryan Smith looking to try and get a cutback, a bit of a switchback moment, and is looking to try and put so much pressure on Jackson Austin. He defends the inside line. Does he defend it enough?
Oh no, have we just
Can't
lost?
spend another day.
There we go. We thought we lost you there for a moment, Nick. It's you've just dropped out, but you're back again, which is good to hear. And Ryan Smith, I tell you what, he's had a couple of cracks at it now. Jackson Austin doing remarkably well under pressure.
Really good defensive driving.
But yeah, it's going to continue, and the question will be whether he can actually hold on to it for another 8 laps at this point. It's a big ask, it really is.
Absolutely, and it's great to see some awesome driving here between these two, even though it's not battling for any points or any podiums or top 5s. These guys are still duking it out no matter wherever you finish. It's always good to see some awesome battles there up and down the field. But just looking on our previous lap here, looking at the battle for 3rd place between Jamie Dyke and David Coleman, what I've actually noticed here, Jared, I don't think Jamie actually did his fast repair. I don't think he's actually repaired his car at all, because even though, yes, he jumped David Coleman, if he did the fast repair, he probably would have been behind David Coleman. But I think he just went for a splash of fuel, maybe put on some fresh tyres, and just, I was about to call the action there about P3. We see another hairy moment there. So the battle between these guys, Jackson Austin and Ryan Smith, all kicking off now, because now Jackson's going to have a bit of damage on that Ford Mustang, and Ryan Smith is going to probably have easy picking coming down Conrod Straight. But I was about to say, Jamie Dyke, I don't think he's fixed that car, and that gap between himself and David Coleman is closing. But what gap is going to close is potentially Ryan Smith potentially making the move on Jackson Austin very, very soon.
It's running very, very close, but we are making our way towards the end of this race. Just 6 laps to go. Ryan Smith desperately trying to find a way past Jackson Austin. Austin doing a remarkable job of holding, but you can see the pressure he's under as they get close to the finish. Austin had a very, very big moment.
Huge moment.
Here we go. Just down again and onto lap 59. We're going to stick with this, but keep your eye up the field, because Ty Delaney, again, is just cutting in ever so slowly to the lead that Danny Pete does have. It's down to 7 tenths, or just under 7 tenths at the moment.
Yeah. Wow.
So they are very, very close together. In fact, let's go forward. We'll keep an eye on this, but we'll check in with Ryan Smith shortly. Ty Delaney coming down the end of the chase there. Look, 6 tenths. Danny P's losing some pace here, and I've got to wonder whether this is a result of his very, very quick pit stop. He only spent 20 seconds in there. Maybe he's found that he's actually running a bit lighter on fuel than he was originally hoping to be at this point in the race.
Yeah, second 4 tenths off Daniel Poulton has Ty Delaney on that last lap, but it was actually the other way around. It was actually Poulton that actually got the head of Ty Delaney. So these guys are still trading some very fast lap times here. 209.5 versus a 209.1. And then we have to look down as we wait for Jamie Dyke and David Colton to finish their laps. So that battle is closing up pretty quickly with only 7 laps to go till the end of this race. At 2:11.3 for Jamie Dyke, and then we cross to see David Coleman 2:09.5. So obviously the odd one out is Jamie Dyke without fixing the car up and just coming in for fuel and tyres just to finish off his stint and just hold on to P3, potentially now dropping down to P4. But it's great to see that these last few laps of strategy, the undercut for Daniel Poulton has worked perfectly in the pit lane. But like you said, has he underfueled the car too much?
Yeah, we'll jump on board with him in just a second and take a look, see if he is doing any fuel saving. Jackson Austin's just run off track again. So the gap for Ryan Smith had opened right up, but it's right back down to just a few tenths. This is absolutely very, very close racing. Austin getting loose on the exit of Murray's.
He's struggling.
He is struggling, 100%. The tyres are starting to give up. It's been a long race. These tyres last changed on lap 48, so almost 20 laps on this and on these tyres. And yeah, it's asking a lot. Jackson Austin and Ryan Smith. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good to see, because what these guys are trying to do is literally, try work with each other. But as you can see there, Jackson Austin, I think it's just overheating these tyres and really pushing into the limit, and this has really opened up for Ryan Smith to try and throw the car, potentially a move down the inside, and we go sideways for Jackson Austin. There's a mistake that is needed for Ryan Smith, and Ryan Smith takes that position away from Jackson Austin. He's cracked under the pressure, all that pressure from the previous few laps there that was set between Ryan Smith and Jackson Austin has finally put that pressure on Jackson. Only a few laps ago making a mistake at the dipper, and on previous lap running wide at the chase, and now finally cracking all under that pressure at the top of the hill at the cutting. And that's all that Ryan Smith needs to get himself up into P7 ahead of Jackson Austin. And I think that was time looming for Jackson Austin, because those tyres looked like it was overheating so much they just couldn't control the car, couldn't slow the car down at all.
Yeah, that's been coming for a long time. Jackson Austin did everything he could to hang on to that, but well earned by Ryan Smith. He's been putting pressure on lap after lap after lap so consistently, and that'll surely be a P7 finish for him here at the end of the Bathurst 400. Henry King and Robbie Bradbury. I mean, what more can you say? The drive of the day is really right here between these two. The battle has been going on for lap after lap after lap. Never quite nose to tail, but certainly back and forth through a lot of these corners. And Henry King, look, he's been throwing everything he can at Bradbury, but Bradbury just not letting him get any closer.
He's trying. He is literally just trying to push through that car as much as he can. But you can just, as we said, those two are just working so hard. And what we saw with Jackson Austin and Ryan Smith, they were battling each other hard and close, and then cracked under the pressure did Jackson Austin. But these guys, Robbie Bradbury and Henry King, no one's cracking under pressure here, Jared. It's incredible to see just how the mindset is for these two, just to keep it at a good pace as well for their pace, a 2:11.2 versus a 2:11.3. These guys are not running the fast pace as we're seeing with the front runners, but they're just being consistent all round, all race long, and they're just really working together.
Absolutely, and we keep our eyes now on Nicholas Garrioch, actually further up. Now these guys not battling in the same split, but Scott Stevens has just been enjoying the ride on the back of Nicholas Garrioch's slipstream for quite a few laps. Both these guys just need to hold it together for the points at this stage. We're going to jump up front. Ty Delaney and Danny P. Look, this gap just continues to go closer and closer. And look, I'm actually really excited for this, because I reckon Delaney's going to try and send this on probably about lap 64. And you see him getting loose off the curb there. He's definitely still pushing. Look, we said we'd check this out before. Let's take a look and go on board now with Danny P, and just keep a very, very close eye on. Just keep a close eye on the revs here, particularly, and let's see just how hard Danny P is actually pushing, because I get this feeling that he's running pretty low on fuel at this point. It is, of course, a little hard for us to gauge here in the comms booth, but let's keep an eye on him, particularly down Conrod Straight. I'm going to be very interested to see if he's short shifting as he starts his way out of Forest Elbow. I mean, we know that we've got Ty Delaney right in behind him. He's definitely still pushing hard, so maybe not. Maybe I'm speaking too soon. Or he's just doing everything he can to hold on to the race win. He's decided to just go for broke. It's either go all the way to the end and run out of fuel and not actually make it, or come out with a bit of victory. You know, go out with the hair on fire. May as well.
Yeah, exactly. May as well just go for it and have it and just enjoy the last ride for the inaugural season here at MC Motorsports for the Supercars Championship. That we're seeing some nice battles up and down the field here. We can now see David Coleman's actually closed up a lot to Jamie Dyke, so it'll be a matter of moments before he makes the move to jump on the podium positions for David Coleman after what would be a brilliant comeback drop championship fight. As we look also up and down the field, we'll see Aaron Gilbert putting some pressure on Daniel McDonald for the battle for P5, and then this battle here that we just cannot. Robbie Bradbury and Henry King. It looks like there's a bit of a. I think now Henry King is starting to get a little bit impatient now. He wants to try and get that move done. You can just see the body language on Henry King, so he just wants to get this move done. He's putting all the pressure on Robbie Bradbury in the 35 Pacific Esports Racing Ford Mustang versus the Team Jinx Shifters.
Have we misjudged Henry King? He's actually not been working hard, perhaps, and he's actually been saving the tyres a little bit, just holding back from Bradbury, not putting the pressure on immensely, because all of a sudden, you know, he's been sitting with virtually a half-second gap for lap after lap after lap. He had it down within a couple of tenths there, and it almost looks like he's been keeping a little in reserve for just this part of the race. We've just got a couple laps here left to go. Danny P out in front is about to start getting hassled in a big way by Ty Delaney. David Coleman and Jamie Dyke are going to be going at it. We'll jump up to them now because look at how close these two are now. David Coleman looking for the pass on his teammate. Jamie Dyke, you've got to wonder, like, that gap has opened up massively to Ty Delaney. Dyke has been running much slower than he has over previous laps. I think he's running very light on fuel, and it's something we've seen from Jamie Dyke previously. He's run very close to the wire for his fuel setup. So we'll have to have a look and just see how close he's actually running.
It's definitely the fuel, but it's also definitely the damage that he sustained in the battle with David Coleman and before that second stop of pit stops that went through the second cycle of the pit stops. So he's definitely still carrying a little bit of damage on the car in the 80 Fishy Motorsports Ford Mustang versus his teammate who's probably slowly putting both of his hands on that championship trophy. But as we just see that margin come down Conrod Straight, I'll be keen to see if actually David Coleman does make the move on Jamie Dyke. But as we say that, we can still see the drivers up in the top two. That is close quarters as well. So here comes David Coleman. Can he throw the car down the inside at the exit of Conrod, and into the chase he goes? A lot more confidence through the chase there. Just starts to basically pushing Jamie Dyke around the chase and going to Murray's corner to complete lap 62 to start lap 63 around the outside. Can he hold it around the outside? There's marbles and dirt on the outside. It's very impossible to hold the cars, and there's a loss of sign of control there for David Coleman. He just loses the rear end just running onto the marbles there, and it just shows how bad and how slippery it is around the outside. They're doing an outside move late on in this race is virtually impossible. So he tried something, but he needs to be patient because there's only 3 laps to go to the end of this race, Jared. He's got the pace, he's got the consistency, he knows his teammates still got damage. It's just finding that opportune moment.
Absolutely. As we've been watching that, we've watched the battle between Bradbury and King for so many laps now. I'm going to take you back just a moment here. King has been pushing hard down into Murray's, finds himself out wide in the marbles, and that's been enough to spin him.
Oh, no!
After what must have been 25 laps of these guys battling it out. I mean, look, he's had one of the most impressive realignments of the car there. I was really hoping he was going to manage the reverse flick spin. But look, a valiant effort all race from Henry King. In the end, just
That
not enough.
just brings a tear to my eye, because I was enjoying that battle. Those two were just putting so much, and then finally the one that was putting the pressure put too much pressure on himself here. But here we go. Here comes the pressure moment here between Daniel Poulton and Ty Delaney. We're going to keep our eyes focused on here. 2 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude this Bathurst 400, which is the final round of the MC Motorsport Championship.
It should be.
Yes.
There it is. We've got the white flag, so we are into the last lap. Here's Daniel Poulton. So again, Ty Delaney closed up. What does Delaney have left in the tank as we make our way around Bathurst for the last time in this 400 kilometres?
On the outside.
He's pushing hard. Ty Delaney flashes the lights. He's
flash the lights, distracting him. It's all about that distraction. This is like anything I can distract you, I'm going to go for it. He's going to try think about throwing the dummy on the inside, sticks behind him. Does that cause Daniel Poulton to run a bit wide? No, it doesn't, but it gives Ty Delaney that extra traction, and he's going to try to get the car up to go onto the inside. He'll set himself up for the top of the hill, put so much pressure on Daniel Poulton. This is a cracking end to what has been an amazing championship in 2025 at MC Motorsports. It's coming down to the wire yet again, that we've seen throughout this whole championship predicament. Daniel Poulton versus Ty Delaney for the win for the Bathurst 400 here at MC Motorsports. Takes a very narrow line, just Ty Delaney through the grates and up McPhillamy for the last time. The crowd cheering their roar of approval. The 2 Camaros going hammer and tong. Antic Motorsports versus Fishy Motorsports. It is so close going down through the S's and Brocky Skyline, through the dipper for the last time. It's going to be all about this run here on the exit of the Forest Elbow onto Conrod Straight. What can Ty Delaney do? Does he throw the car down the inside? No. Daniel Poulton has a little bit much of a better run there. Runs the car right up to the barrier there. There was no margin of error there for Ty Delaney. No more room for the man in 877. But it is all this riding, that plucking through the gears, 5th gear, and then rising it up to 6th gear. It is in that slipstream rage. What does Daniel Poulton do? Does he defend the inside line? And here comes the move. Oh, throws a dummy move there, does Ty Delaney. Tries to scare his opponent and Daniel Poulton. One more opportunity here at Murray's Corner to finish off what has been an exciting race here. It's going to come down to the final corner. Does Daniel Poulton hold on? Holds the inside line, no pressure on Ty Delaney. Is about to cross the finish line. It is Daniel Poulton taking the victory ahead of Ty Delaney. What a great victory that was for Daniel Poulton. What a last lap that was, Jared. And Daniel Poulton, with the undercut in the pit lane, makes that strategy work to absolute perfection. Takes the victory for the last round here in celebration. Ty Delaney holds on to P2. Jamie Dyke looks like he's just going to hold off on his teammates in Daniel and David Coleman, and as he's actually caught into the barriers on the final lap as well. Where is Damon McDonald? He's nowhere, and on the final lap there, that could have been all she wrote if Damon McDonald was close by.
Jamie Dyke's given it up.
I've just seen that as well.
Jamie Dyke has redressed.
Wow.
That is one for the ages. Look, I think in terms of the championship, no great difference. Damon McDonald was far enough back that David Coleman was going to make it across the line. But, my goodness, what a finish. Daniel Poulton takes the win. Ty Delaney takes 2nd tonight. David Coleman gets 3rd after what could have been a race-ending crash. And Danny P is going for the full lap drift here. We will wait to see just when Hayden Cupid, here comes Hayden Cupid crossing the line now. That will be the win in silver for Hayden Cupid. A phenomenal season for him. Just brilliant results right throughout, and a well-deserved win in the silver split as he makes his way around Hell Corner for the last time. And let's see him light it up here. I'm sure he's going to celebrate in style. We'll take a look back. Scott Stevens has just crossed the line as well. I still have to give my hat to him, even from gaining 10 positions, starting so far down the order to finish P2. That is a really commendable drive for Scott Stevens there in position 2. Danny P is out of fuel.
Oh, wow,
Getting the push
way.
from Mitch Curry. That's how light he was running on fuel there. He's not even able to make it back around to the pits. So the boss man himself, MC Motorsport's head, Mitch Curry, is going to assist our race winner all the way back from the top.
This is brilliant.
What a finish.
I never thought I'd see it to the day, but it's going to be the one that just jumps out of the car, jumping on the barriers, jumping on the roof, and he's just going to be waving his hand around, just basically just getting the team boss and the teamo, the head honcho of MC that has been able to put this series to fruition here at MC Motorsports on the iRacing World. The inaugural Supercars Championship going, the gold split going to David Coleman in the car 640 for Fishy Motorsports, and Hayden Cupid for Sideways Esports, the 999 Ford Mustang. So it's good to see two different brands taking the top step and taking the championship in both gold and silver. But what a finish that was for the Bathurst 400 between the two drivers, and Daniel Poulton, Ty Delaney. My goodness, that is going to be one for the ages.
It absolutely is. And in fact, as he's getting pushed down the hill right now, gets on a bit of a roll. Danny P, I believe we've got you on the radio,
Hello.
mate. How are you going?
You got me. I am knackered. I'm good, but I'm thrilled.
What a phenomenal finish. An absolutely phenomenal finish to the race this evening. And look, just barely in the end holding off Ty Delaney. He put the pressure on for those last couple laps. Mate, congratulations on an epic win this evening. You had a huge qualifying run, an absolutely massive showing in the top 10 shootout, and now the winner of the Bathurst 400.
Yeah, I am two-time Bathurst champion in the MC Motorsport world.
Nice. So that's going to go on a plaque somewhere, I'm sure.
Hey.
How tough was that race tonight?
It wasn't as tough as I was expecting it to be. But man, it was to be within the same 10th every single lap. That was tricky work. And when Ty pulled out 5 seconds on me at the second stint, I was like, "Oof, my work's cut out for that." But Aaron did a cracking job on the fuel numbers. We made some time up, and it was just a matter of keeping it in front. And here I am.
Yeah, I was going to say within that pit stop, obviously Nick Patassa here, first time meeting you, Daniel Paulson. So it's great to hear you from the commentary booth. But just going through that pit stop, in the last pit stop, you came in with a 20-second pit stop compared to Ty Delaney, who came in with a 28 pit stop. So you actually passing him in the pit lane is definitely what won you the race here tonight. But so I was just going to say, like, the question was was that intentional, just to jump Ty Delaney when you saw him come into the pit lane, and you were just thinking maybe I might be able to get something on him, or was that just throw the dice and have a roll of the dice and just think about, take something for the last race in the championship?
Yeah, so the goal was, I felt really comfortable with the car on low fuel, so it's like at the end of the race, I want the car to feel great, so I just ran the first stint as long as I could. Second stint, I was just waiting on Ty, so it was in that second pit stop I was always going to jump him in time because he did a shorter stop. But the whole strap was just because I was more comfortable on a lower fuel car, so that's what we did.
Well, that's all it's taken tonight. Danny P, the self-proclaimed crowd favourite. The crowd favourite. Mate, a fantastic drive. The strategy has played out beautifully for you tonight. Congratulations on the win in what was a super tough race. We're going to let you go and get a drink, mate, because it's bloody well deserved this evening. Enjoy, and well done once again on taking out the final race of the season.
Thank you, fans. Thank you, Jared, for putting the broadcast on for the rest of the competition. It was good fun this season.
Good to hear, mate. Good to hear. Go and get some drinks in here.
I will. Tell you why. Thank you, boys.
Danny P there, the winner of tonight's race, both in gold split and overall. And we've got a few people here to chat to from the silver split. We will start off, and the Stevens boys always keeping me on my toes. Seth Stevens, welcome to the booth. What a drive from you tonight, mate. Seth, have we got you there?
Oh, hello. You got me?
There he is, Seth. Mate, welcome to the booth. We caught you a few times there tonight. In the end, a third place finish. The last of the drivers in the silver split to finish on that first lap. Mate, you had your work cut out for you tonight to finish that far up, but a solid drive all the way through for you, finishing pretty well where you started this evening. How was that for you in the car?
Oh, mate, it was definitely a struggle, that first stint. There was a couple times where I got hauled off a bit and just ruined my tyres, so I had to pit early. But apart from that, it was that middle stint was really crucial as well, and then that last stint was just kind of everything just kind of went off a bit. But I mean, I kept it sorted together, and then because I made that gap through both of the first and second stints, I didn't really have to worry about too much behind me. But yeah, it was definitely a struggle, but it was good in the end. I was definitely can't keep up with Scott or Hayden. They were absolutely flying past the end.
Well, mate, a really, really solid drive tonight. Congratulations on P3 in the silver. You know, it can be a little disheartening, I'm sure, to see yourself at P13 overall, but given the competition you're up against, you actually you came in ahead of Henry King in 14th there. I'm just trying to have a look. I think he might have been the last of the gold drivers tonight, but a solid effort, fantastic drive, and congrats to you. Go and celebrate that one, I think, mate, because it's well earned. A Bathurst 400 is not an easy task for any driver.
Yeah, definitely. Especially it's my first kind of league series as well, so not too bad to finish it off. It started off a bit rough, but finish is good. So yeah.
Got to be happy. Well done, mate, and looking forward to hopefully chatting to you a few more times over the next couple of seasons, hey?
Yeah, hopefully. Oh, cheers, boys. I'll see you later.
Cheers, Seth. We will go now, of course, to the other Stevens. Always difficult to keep these two apart just because of the naming conventions, but we've got Scott Stevens now. Scott, are you with us?
I am. Thanks, guys.
Mate, we were really hoping that you were going to pull something out of the bag there. An absolutely phenomenal drive, though. From my count, you ended up 15 positions ahead of your starting spot tonight. Just a solid effort to get so close tonight, to finish in second after moving that far up through the field. Just huge, mate. Well done, and a very, very well-deserved position for you this evening. And some nice points to finish off. It does look like, if my numbers are right, you're going to finish with second place in the championship this season. So congratulations on that one, mate.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Race-wise, was always going to be difficult. I didn't get to do the quali session yesterday due to prior arrangements. So yeah, kind of knew that it was going to be an uphill battle, but talking to the guys from the start of the race, and it was just about keeping clean and choosing when to take those battles. And if I caught Hayden, see what we had for him and take it from there. But from what I could see, just with his pace alone, he was doing pretty comfortable there. So deserved win on the race for him in the silver split, and big congratulations to him for the championship. It's gone down to the wire. A few races his way, a few mine, and this is where we've ended up. So I can't be disappointed with second.
No, absolutely not. You cannot be disappointed at all. So Spud here. Just wanted to say that obviously making up those positions, obviously missing the qualifying yesterday, and obviously with a field that has more than 40 drivers registered and more than 40 drivers actually racing this event, from starting so far back down the order and actually gaining the positions on the track and actually overtaking and playing a smart strategy and being one of the three drivers in that silver split to actually finish on the lead lap, 22 seconds behind Hayden Cooper, but gaining those positions and making those overtakes. I can just imagine the amount of sweat that is on your racing sim right now. Just planning those moves, planning those overtakes, throwing the cars down the inside, going around the outside, playing it around in the fuel numbers and the pit windows. But what does it actually take to actually plan that? Because you do miss qualifying, and you're going in with a mindset thinking, I have so much work to do, but somehow at the end of it, you finish P2.
Yeah. For me, I've done a lot of long distance enduro racing, and I've learned very early on that sometimes when you get to a guy, you've got to wait. You've got to find where their weakness is and your strength is, and then kind of act on that. And especially early on the race. Oh, sorry. I got a lot of noise going on in the background now. Sorry. So it was all about seeing what the other guy's strengths were. And it was actually quite hard, I found, down the bottom of the track, like into the last corner, even into the chase. I think there was a couple of passes there, but very reliant on the other guy to play ball kind of thing. But then I threw a couple up the inside at Forest Elbow, and yeah, made a few passes there.
That's gutsy.
It was, but there were things I had to do to get them done, like early in the race. Otherwise, I would have just been bleeding time. Hayden was up the front, obviously starting out, I think it was P3 or 4. And if he could have just sat with the lead group, he was just going to be doing it comfortably and driving away. So, I guess calculated risk, you could say, to a point. A great bunch of guys that you could also lean on in terms of knowing that they were going to give you space when you were trying to make the pass. So I think that's a testament to the series as well, So good.
Well, we won't keep you away from the drinks now, mate. You've definitely deserved them tonight. A huge effort right throughout this 400Ks of Bathurst. Congratulations on P2 tonight, and of course P2 in the championship standings overall. Just a phenomenal season, and absolutely, as always, one of the best looking liveries you're going to find anywhere on track, I reckon. Scott,
thank you.
Brilliant season, and thank you so much for being a part of it. It's been a pleasure, and we'll keep an eye out for you in the next season, I am sure.
Yeah, looking at doing GT3 will be my next season. It's a couple of weeks away now, but want to throw a big shout out to you guys for the broadcast. They're phenomenal to go back and watch. The clarity of the picture is just, to me, it's second to none compared to some others that are out there. So the calls, the radio calls, the comms, the visualizations, everything is just a top-notch job. So thank you very much to you guys. And Mitch and the MC crew and admins, big shout out to you guys for the efforts and everything you've done through the season. Again, fantastic series, and like the formats that you choose with the splitting of the different series and whatnot. So keep it up, and we'll see you guys in the next championship.
Looking forward to it. Cheers, Scott. That's Scott Stevens, second place tonight. We've kept him waiting in the interview room long enough. It's about time that we had a chat to tonight's winner, Hayden Cupid. Welcome to the booth, mate.
Thank you.
How are you feeling? That was a huge 400Ks of Bathurst. In the end, you almost made it look easy, but just a phenomenal set of results. Congratulations on the win tonight, and more importantly, congratulations on the season championship.
Thank you. It definitely was not easy. That is the longest I've ever sat down and concentrated like that. Around Bathurst too, that was rough, but got there in the end. Glad to get it.
And here I was praising Scott Stevens making some overtakes from the back of the field from not qualifying, and you actually leading the gold split, taking the victory. I could just imagine just that concentration levels just going up and down, and making a few mistakes here and there, and just going up and down, and just like mixing in with those consistency of lap times. How much does it actually take to do a bit of a preparation when it comes to these kind of events? Obviously, it's a longer race format compared to what we've seen over the previous rounds here at MC Motorsports for the V8 season championship. So what does it actually take to actually drive these longer distances? Is it more just of a mental game where you just, that you have to take a backward step when it comes to race pace, or do you just feel like you're able to find consistency throughout all of your lap times? Because from what I could see in my lap times and from my timesheets, your fastest was a 2:10.6, and I don't think I've ever seen you get into the 2:11, 2:12s at all throughout the whole race.
I definitely dipped into the 12s a little bit. I had a 13 when I locked up, but I didn't get an incident point all race, which was pretty good. It kept it clean the whole thing. Unfortunately, I didn't have that much time to prepare, so I jumped on about an hour before qualifying yesterday and just did some laps on the quali setup, and then loaded into the race an hour before and just did laps. So I think I did a 10-lap stint before the full 65, but...
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So anytime you want to do some laps here at MC Motorsport, all you need is just an hour preparation to win Silver Split. Head set by Hayden Cupid.
Yeah, apparently.
Nah, but that was a
all it
really
takes,
strong,
jeez.
commendable drive there. And I was going to say, like, obviously, hats off to yourself winning the championship, and also your fellow competitors as well, like Scott Stevens finishing up in P2 overall. So obviously,
He did so well. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to do that. To finish 22 seconds off me when he started nearly around the corner is next level.
That's just a huge effort. It really is. He's put in a massive drive. Look, it was going to take a lot more than that to steal the championship away from you tonight. But mate, just a massive season for you right through. Congratulations. It's been, for only 8 rounds, it's felt like such a longer season because of the quality of the racing. We've just seen so much across those 8 rounds. We're just watching the last bits of your very impressive smoke show as well. So, mate, celebrating in style as always. So congratulations on another win under your belt and a phenomenal finish to the season as our inaugural V8 champ here. Again, well done, Hayden.
Thank you. It was good to get my first pole position in leagues, first wins in leagues ever. So to bring home the championship as well is pretty good.
There we go. We'll leave you to it. Go celebrate. It's well
Thank you.
deserved. Hayden Cooper, your winner tonight, not only in the silver split, but taking out the silver championship overall. And on the point of championship wins, we welcome to the booth for what feels like about the 6th or 7th time this season, I think, David Coleman. Welcome back, mate.
Hey lads, how are you?
Look, doing pretty well. Probably not cheering as hard as you are. That was a phenomenal finish. We were doing the numbers right throughout that race just to see where you needed to finish to retain it. But unless I've missed any penalties in there tonight or my maths is completely off the mark, I'm going to be the first to say congratulations. You are this season's gold split champion.
Thanks, Ace boys. It's been a tough one, and the last couple of weeks has probably been even tougher, like Fishy was. So, yeah, I'm sure there's some people that are happy and some that are a bit sad, but we'll see what happens. So, yeah, it should be all sweet over here.
No doubt, mate. It's I can't even begin to rehash on the season that you've had from someone who didn't look like they were much of a threat for the top step for the first couple of races. You've just gone from strength to strength throughout this season, all done with just the biggest smile on your face, I reckon, when you come and chat to us in the booth. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to chat to you so many times, and to take it out for the first season. We were actually chatting before the race tonight. We're pretty certain that this is the first league season of Gen3 Supercars anywhere on iRacing to actually crown a champion. So I'm gonna go with that and say, mate, you are officially the first Gen3 Supercar League champion anywhere in the world.
Well, it's not too bad. It's a bit different at the moment. Like, I tried Scops, and the field at Scops was quite tight. So our second covered 70 cars. So that was a bit tough. Didn't make that, but yeah, Phillip Island. I think I was last both races. Like, it just didn't click, and it's probably thanks to the boys, especially Blake Delaney. And VRS helped them out, and they shared a bit of driving style, and from then it clicked. And Winton was the turning point, like for me, driving wise, and just improved on the outer. And like, I actually exceeded my own expectations, considering how strong Jamie and Ty were. But those two battling away, I slowly chipped away, and thanks to Sandown and Chicago, the clean sweep. And yeah, tonight was tough, but yeah, we'll leave that at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you're gaining a few positions, 4 positions from your starting position here tonight for the Bathurst 400. But also as well, we're just keeping an eye on yourself and Jamie Dyke throughout that whole stint. You're closing up ever so slightly. You see him make a mistake at the cutting, and that's when you're going through that opportune moment. You're starting to think, what do I do here? Do I go for an undercut? Do I try and overtake him on track? Do I try and, just talk to my teammate over the comms, because we know your teammates and stuff, and just say, hey, let me through? But as teammates are, you don't want to make things easy for your championship rival and for your championship competitor, because obviously you've got yourself as a championship contender, as well as Ty Delaney, who was the other driver that was leading at that point. So I'm just wondering, obviously, you guys working so well together, you guys work in such harmony, that when it comes to these championship predicaments, championship situations, what would happen there? Because Jamie Dyke came in, had an accident, and it looked like he was kind of holding you up a little bit, but that's when you said, I'm going for the undercut. But then even in the undercut, it was like that Jamie Dyke said to you, you know what, I'm just going to pull a wild card here. I'm not going to fix the damage on my car, and I'm just going to try and hold on to P3.
I had to do something different anyway, because my qualifying, quality was actually good. It was a shootout killed me. And the start of this race, like, I think by lap 10 or 12, we were 15 seconds off them. So, like, I knew I had to finish 4th if tyre won, I think, and got the fastest lap. I think it would have been like a 1 point difference or something. So,
Correct.
that was in the back of my mind, but obviously, what was it?
That was the same calculations that we've got.
Yeah, so, obviously we're talking about it, but I was just, like, I thought I'd have, like, I was kind of stuck for 5th, but I can't remember who crashed out. I think it was Thomas, and, like, I think he had a moment anyway, but I was slowly catching, but I had to try to do something different. It was a bit disappointing. There probably wasn't a safety car or something, but, that's how it is. That would have, closed the gap up a bit, but, credit to Danny Peter tonight, like, he was on it, and I think if he was around for the whole season, he probably would have thrown his name up there too, which he did at the start. But yeah, tonight was tough. Like, qualifying's key in that shootout. I love a shootout, but mate, I don't want to talk about that lap ever again.
Absolutely.
Well,
we just want to talk about that last lap situation that you had yourself and Jamie's. You're going full set on the exit of the chase there, and decides to go 360 no scope up to the barriers on the right hand side. Almost.
I was catching Dykey by a rate, and he's decided to speed it up a bit, and yeah, like, my tyres were cooked, and I just got on the gas a bit too early, trying to get the nose in there, but me and Dykey are even now, so he doesn't owe me anymore, so he'll be happy to tell you that. So shout out to Jamie, shout out to Ty. Like, yeah, if Ty won the race, Dykey wouldn't have given it to me, so but I think it still would have been that 1 point thing, so
yeah,
it's a shame the car was absolutely wrecked after the race.
It looked worse for wear. We're just seeing on our slow-mo replays how much he just lost the rear end.
Yeah, maybe pulls out slow-mo now. But I was actually a bit knackered, to be honest. Like, 65 laps, and like, I was on it the whole time. Setup was horrible, but just had to keep chipping away. So.
Look, you've made it work, David. Congratulations, the inaugural of MCV8 Series champion. Well earned. I'm sure you'll display the trophy proudly when it shows up at your place shortly. We're going to let you go and just recover from that 400Ks, mate. Well done.
I will, mate. Can I just say one thing? I just want to thank you boys. Your broadcast is killer, probably best on the service by far at the moment. Looks good on a 75-inch, so I'll look forward to. I don't know if I'd watch this one back, but I might watch Chicago or Sandown back one night. And just a shout out to the league, like, first series. Some know I'm involved in, like, V8 Vets race control, and it's not an easy job, so credit to these guys. Big shout out to everyone else, all the races. Like, I think the speed difference is pretty massive between the whole 40 people, especially since it's been combined, and just the respect that I'd say the fast guys and the slow guys, I shouldn't say slower, the guys a bit off the pace, have shown towards everyone. It's actually been enjoyable racing with a large field, so big shout out to every competitor as well.
It's awesome to hear, mate, and been a pleasure having you a part of it. David Coleman, go get yourself that beer, mate. Well earned.
Thanks, boys.
Cheers, David. And we'll save the last word here tonight, Spud, for the man himself, the head of MC Motorsport. I don't know if we call him the chief executive or what, but Mitch Curry, welcome to the booth. What a finish to the first season here in the MCV8 series, hey?
That was crazy, wasn't it? From what I saw, yeah, absolutely. Mate, that is a tough track to drive a V8 supercar around. 2.5 hours, just full chat around here, no safety cars. Just, you do not get a second to just breathe.
Yeah, look, I don't envy you. I was pretty happy to be in the comms booth tonight. Look, I don't want to spend a bunch of time talking about your performance in the race here tonight, because that's not what we're here for. I just wanted to bring you in and give you an opportunity to close out this season's broadcast with any words you might have for the drivers that have put this all together, that have been part of it, made up the field for the 8 rounds that we've had. Because from my perspective, it's been just phenomenally enjoyable racing right from the word go. I don't know if you caught it on the top 10 shootout, but Aiden was saying that he's done a bit of background and reckons we might have here the very first Gen 3 Supercar League to actually have crowned a champion. So, mate, I was just saying to David, he's going to get the unofficial title from me of the world's first Gen 3 League champion. How does it feel to have put something like that together and to finally made it to the end of the final round?
Oh, it's fantastic, mate. To be honest, it's good to see these cars on iRacing finally as well, and to be able to, to have that platform and have MC Motorsport there to provide this type of thing in a league setting for these drivers as well. Like for me, it's an absolute pleasure to see these guys on the track in these cars. What they can do in these bloody things is just ridiculous. Like I don't think I'm a slow driver in these things, absolutely, but watching David, Aiden, Danny P, Ty Delaney, Jamie Dye, watching them guys wrangle this car around some of these tracks, I have no idea what they're doing with it, man, and it's fantastic to see. And just a massive congratulations to David, obviously inaugural MCV8's gold split champion, and silver champion went to Hayden Cooper too with a stellar drive. I think he finished P6 overall, I believe.
P7 in the end, but
P7. I mean, that's a great drive from a silver driver, mate. It's
huge.
But to finish it off at Bathurst with 400 kilometres, it's 5 to 11 where I am. So we finished a little bit earlier than I thought we would, which is great. But it's just good to see these cars here. It's good to see all these teams that have joined. Fishy's pretty well dominated this season, which is fair enough. They're all fantastic drivers as well, but there's a bunch of other teams here that all stick together. You got Sideways Esport there with drivers left, right and centre in both splits as well. And then you've got the ADHD boys, which I think they enjoy doing their liveries more than driving the car, if I'm honest. You've got Scott Stevens, who does a lot of these liveries as well, and I think he ended up P2 in the championship, if I'm not wrong. But
indeed.
Overall, I think it was a massive success. We learned a lot this season as well. Which we'll make changes going forward. We'll always change things for the better if we can. We try not to change things on the fly so much. We don't want every week looking different to the last, but I think going into season 2, which will start on June 30th for the MCV8s, I think we'll have a good platform, and we'll see how we go from there.
And not to mention, season 2 sounds like it's a long way away, but of course we've got the GT3 series kicking off in about 2 or 3 weeks. That promises to be some pretty entertaining racing as well, so I'd hate for anyone to miss it because I think we're going away for a few months. Mate, any insight on what we can expect from the upcoming GT3 season?
Some interesting racing, I reckon. It's going to be there's some great tracks on the calendar, with one of the tracks being driver voted as well. So we'll have the second last or the last round voted on by the drivers themselves that are in the championship. The entries for GT3 Season 2 will open in the next few days. Sorry, Season 3 I should say. They'll open in the next few days, and it's sponsored this year, so it'll be the Domains to You GT3 Championship. Jump in, we'll have some more information on that in the Discord itself. But in the meantime as well, on a Thursday night on the 13th of March, we will have the BMW M2 Little Fun Series kicking off as well. So jump in, join the MC Motorsport Discord, jump in and sign up, have a bit of fun. We're all a good bunch here. We try and keep it pretty light, fun. So with GT3 beginning on 7th of April, we've got a couple of weeks off, kick back, spend some time with the family before we jump back in full time. And we'll see how we go from there, I suppose. It should be good. The GT3 is definitely a majorly hotly contested field. There's a lot of drivers that we've had in the past, and hopefully coming up, in the future, that we've got new guys coming in that, can jump in and challenge for that top step.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And of course, you can catch all of the action of the GT3 series in the same place right here on Simple Racing Broadcasts. So if you haven't already, do make sure you click a bit of a subscribe there so you don't miss any of it. If you'd like to get involved, the link to the MC Motorsport Discord is just down below in the video description. So if GT3 racing is something you fancy and you'd like to come along and give it a shot, make sure you jump that link, come and introduce yourself, and come and have a chat to us for a few weeks before we get into the racing proper in April. Mitch Curry, it's been an absolute pleasure once again this season to be hosting all of the racing here for MC Motorsport. You've put on a wonderful league. There's been nothing but praise for it from the drivers. Mate, well done. Enjoy the few weeks of well-deserved rest, and all the best to you and the family as you take a few moments to breathe before getting back into it again with the GT3s.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate the words. Massive thank you goes out to yourself as well, mate. The amount of work you do in the background with your streams is phenomenal. You know, Biggles as well. We've got Spud in there, I believe, as well. He's done a couple of races for us, so thank you very much, gentlemen. Big thank you to all the drivers, of course, that have joined us for this season. You know, thanks for being a little bit patient with us while we construct this first season. We've got massive thank you to my admin team as well. You know, without them, this league does not run. Thank you to our race control as well. Those guys have put in mammoth amount of hours to, you know, try and fine tune everything, try and, you know, get rid of the grey areas in the rule book. So they've done an amazing job this season. And last but not least, thank you to all the wives and partners for allowing us to jump on here for a little while and not drive his mad every Monday night for a little while. So no, we do appreciate it. I know I definitely appreciate my other half. She's fantastic when it comes to this stuff. I spend a lot of time on Discord on the computer trying to, you know, design series, work out rules, tweak rules, you know, all that sort of stuff that you've got to do when you're running one of these sort of things. So, but other than that, guys, it's just a massive thank you to everyone. You know, it wouldn't be MC Motorsport wouldn't be what it is without everyone that's involved with it. So just a massive thank you to everybody. And yeah, I haven't really got much else to say other than that, mate. I'm absolutely stoked with how it's all gone. So thank you very much.
It's good to see that progress from the inaugural GT3 championship that started late last year in 2024, and just to see how much it's grown ever since that. Just since then, just having some small interest into the GT3 championship, and now just having a wide variety of cars and championships in MC Motorsports. It's great to see that Discord absolutely filling up with, like, I've just seen that Discord blowing up like crazy, and so many drivers coming in, new drivers. New contenders for championships as well, and you've got some returning drivers as well. So you've got obviously your regular faces joining you as well. So it's great to see that there's a whole lot of variety that suits people as well. And I feel like that's what definitely MC Motorsport's all about. It's like any series that you guys can provide, someone's able just to jump in and say, hey, I'm going to give it a go because I want to have some fun. I love these cars. I want to give it my best and try and win myself a championship or get myself inside that podium positioning. So it's a testament to you guys and the hard work that you do in the background. And like you said, I'll always be in the background anytime that I might be able to get myself a commentary gig. But I'll be here, I'll be lurking, I'll be watching those streams all the time. And yeah, but it's been great to call the couple of rounds that I've been involved in this MCV8 championship, and I've really enjoyed, especially this last race as well. So testament to you, Mitch, and your team for putting it on an amazing series.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. You know, coming from the GT7 days, GT Sport days, to moving over to iRacing and throwing all this together. So we've come a long way. You know, we only turned one in May this year, so we're only 9 months into MC Motorsport. But that was the idea of it. You know, provide a platform for multiple different racing classes, categories, I should say, just to provide enough there for multiple types of, you know, people to jump in and go, hey, I like Super Formula, I like GT3, I like the Beamers, I like the 86s, I like endurance. You know, a lot of leagues do just provide that, you know, typical 1 or 2 types of racing for, you know, 3 or 4 seasons a year, but we wanted to spread that out a bit and mix it up. So I think it's going really well so far. And no, thanks, mate. I appreciate the words.
Mitch Curry, thank you once again. We'll leave you to it, and we'll get this one wrapped up for this evening as we look back on 8 rounds of just phenomenal racing. Nick Patasso, want to thank you very much for jumping in tonight, and of course Dean Hopton, who has been here by my side in the commentary booth right throughout this season. Both of you making tonight an absolute breeze to cover and a lot of fun as always. So looking forward to welcoming you back to the booth sometime in the not too distant future, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be definitely keeping my eyes out on the MC Motorsports Championships that is going to be coming up over the next few Mondays. I will. It's always a little bit tricky on my end on the Monday nights, but anytime I can have an opportune moment to come in into the commentary booth, I'll definitely be giving you that DM and saying, hey, I'm free, I'm available. So, but it's great to be back here in the MC Motorsports. It's basically where I started, where we both started, you and me, back in the inaugural GT3 Championship. You know, going from a simple a simple, basic platform, just really not knowing about each other, and just me just thinking about who's Jared, who I've never met this guy in my entire life, and what is he on about? That when it comes, and then you hearing about me and my different world of sim racing on the PlayStation platform compared to yourself on the iRacing platform. So it was going to be a bit of a hard challenge about us learning and getting that flow of commentary. But I feel like over the years and over the seasons that we've been able to get some commentary calls, I feel like we're getting a little bit of harmony. We're getting a much better harmony between us, and I'm really enjoying the time that I can spend with you, Jared. And obviously, all the professional outlays and developments that you put into the streaming services is tip top, and is absolutely stunner. And it's so professional, so clean, so presentable. The definitions are incredible on big screen TVs, so you can really commend yourself on that, Jared, and all the effort you put into providing a top streaming platform for MC Motorsports for the drivers to go back and watch and see the cars and see the clarity of the streaming service that iRacing has been able to provide us. It's just great to see, and it's just a full testament to all your hard work in the background, mate. So well done for an amazing season in season 1 for its inaugural Supercars Championship, where we crowned two champions, and David Coleman for Fishy Motorsports, the car 640 in Gold Split, and Hayden Cupid 999 for Sideways Esports for the Ford Mustang. So it's great to see some multi manufacturers taking out the championships in both classes, but as well for commendament to you, the MC Motorsports team, as well as all the drivers that have participated in this championship in 2025.
And plenty more where that's come from. The Simple Racing Broadcast channel will be your source of all things MC Motorsport as we look ahead to the start of the next season of GT3 racing. If you haven't already, do make sure you've subscribed down below so you don't miss the announcements when that season does kick off in April. And if you'd like to get just a little bit more of a feel of V8 racing, check out the Simple Racing Broadcast homepage on our channel. You'll see a link there to Alliance Sim Racing. We've got the finale of their season tomorrow night to cover as well over on their channel, so make sure you keep in touch. But otherwise, it has been an absolute pleasure bringing this season to you. We're really looking forward to bringing you a whole lot more of GT3 racing and more racing further into the year. If you'd like to get in touch, all of our contact details are of course down below. But until then, do look after yourselves, look after each other, stay safe out there on the roads. Remember, sim racing doesn't translate to the real world. Repairs are costly and injuries are very real, so take it easy on the black stuff. Keep it on the track here, and we will see you again in the not too distant future for more fantastic iRacing action right here with Simple Racing Broadcasts. On behalf of everyone in the MC Motorsport team, thank you once again for sticking with us throughout this season, and we will see you again very soon. It is goodbye for now.